Chapter 1100. As long as one entered the arena and defeated an opponent, one would obtain a reward from the Lunar Palace. This was especially so for the first stage. By defeating 10 Lunar Palace female disciples, one would obtain the highest reward. One would have the opportunity to obtain all sorts of rare treasures. In terms of wealth, as the top city of the heavenly starry ocean, Bright Moon City collected taxes from the merchants in the city every year, easily surpassing that of the other holy lands. If it was any other holy land that was hosting such a grand event, they probably wouldn't be as generous as this. The extraordinarily bustling scene lasted for a long time. As the 10 female disciples worked together to knock out the many rash cultivators, the place slowly calmed down. Xiao Qian could clearly see that without the strength of a Grandmaster-level martial sage, it would be very difficult to defeat the 10 female disciples. However, a true expert would not rashly make an appearance in the first stage. This was probably an invisible threshold that the Lunar Palace had set up. "I'll go. Both of you, wish me luck." Qi Wuxue laughed loudly and soared into the air, flying towards a small arena. After Qi Wuxue made his move, some of the Grandmaster-level martial sages could no longer hold themselves back. The true elites of the Four Seas hero gatherings started to make their appearance. Occasionally, one could hear someone being recognized and gaining popularity. Xiao Chun and Long Fei showed no intention of making a move. Clearly, this was just an appetizer. In the air, none of the holy scions in the exquisite jade pavilions showed any intention of making a move. Long Fei smiled and said, "Qi Wuxue is going to succeed." Xiao Qian squinted and looked over. Only one Lunar Palace female disciple remained in the arena where Qi Wuxue was. However, Qi Wuxue did not seem to be in a rush to obtain victory. As they exchanged moves, he occasionally said something to that Lunar Palace female disciple, angering her out of humiliation. Xiao Qian smiled speechlessly and said, "This fellow's nature is really hard to change." Long Fei shook his head as well and said, "His talent is even better than mine. This is truly unfortunate." As the Lunar Palace disciples entered the arena one by one, Qi Wuxue's arena became exceptionally eye-catching, enraging several people. When Qi Wuxue saw the situation, he stopped joking and smiled. "Sister, I will not play with you anymore. Go down first. I'll look for you later." After saying that, Qi Wuxue gently threw that Lunar Palace female disciple off the arena. No need to wait any longer. After understanding the rules of the Four Seas Hero Assembly, Xiao Qian stood up and prepared to take the stage. His target was the highest stage, where Fang Qingxian was leading the 10 elite disciples. It was the most difficult and most eye-catching stage. From the beginning until now, no one had visited that arena. Even a most arrogant person would know their place. Many people were looking forward to seeing who the first son of Saint would be, but they also knew that the sons of saints would not appear so early until the time was right. Therefore, most people didn't look at the arena that attracted the most attention. They all knew that this arena was prepared for the chosen. They did not have the qualifications to go up, and they would only be humiliating themselves if they went up. Long Fei immediately said, "It's not good to go on stage too early. If you expose your own strength too much, it will become harder and harder to fight towards the end." Xiao Qian smiled and said, "Don't worry, Brother Long. I know what I'm doing." If not for what Yubinyan said 3 days ago, Xiao Qian might not have been so high-profile and rash. He would have waited for a while. However, now that he wanted to obtain the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet, he needed to be high-profile and rash, leaving others speechless. Before Long Fei's flabbergasted gaze, Xiao Qian's figure flashed and spun 3 times in the air. Then, he gently landed on the tallest and largest arena in Bright Moon Plaza. Xiao Qian moved too fast. Furthermore, most people did not expect someone to charge to the highest arena so early. As a result, not many people noticed that there was an additional person in the highest arena. The instant Xiao Qian landed, his field of vision immediately widened. The arena was much larger than it looked on the outside. Fang Qingxian held a bamboo flute in her hand. She was somewhat surprised at Xiao Chen's arrival. She smiled softly and said, "Blue Dragon King, you should not have come now." Indeed, Xiao Chen should not have come now, no matter how one looked at it. As someone who was competing for the top prize, he should not have appeared so early. For the sake of snatching the limelight, Xiao Chen exposed his strength too early. Xiao Chen did not answer. He looked to the front and observed the strength of the group of people on the other side. Xiao Chen knew Fang Qingxuan's strength. She was still far from the small perfection blue-robed emperor. The 10 elite female disciples at the back had pretty good cultivations, all Grandmaster-level martial sages. From the finer details, one could discover that the accumulations of the lunar palace were much stronger than those of the 9 ranks of the great families, the Haoyin sect. At the very least, the Haoyin sect definitely did not have so many disciples who were Grandmaster-level martial sages. Xiao Chen already had an understanding of the strength of this group of people. He performed a cupped fist salute and said calmly, "There is no need to say anything more. Miss Fang, make your move." "Sorry for the offense, then." Fang Qingxian elegantly twirled the bamboo flute around her finger. Then she moved to the back. The 10 white-clad female disciples held their swords and split into 2 rows. They stood in a row beside Fang Qingxian, raised their swords, and charged at Xiao Chen together with the sound of the bamboo flute. The instant the bamboo flute rang out, the 100,000 cultivators in Bright Moon Plaza seemed to wake up from a dream. Only now did they discover that a person had leaped onto the highest arena at some point in time. Countless pairs of eyes looked over in an instant, finding this extremely inconceivable. Why would someone choose to go up at this moment? Was he extremely confident in his strength, or simply want to show off? Was he not afraid of exposing his strength too early by jumping out now? However, when everyone thought about it, the many holy signs in the pavilion in the air did not move. They immediately felt that this was a cultivator who was about to make a fool of himself. However, when everyone clearly saw the white figure on the arena, they were all shocked. "It's the Blue Dragon King, Xiao Chen. What is he trying to do? He is too arrogant. Does he really think that there is no one left in our heavenly starry ocean?" This is a ruthless slap to the faces of all the outstanding talents of the heavenly starry ocean. Unexpectedly, the first person to go up on the most eye-catching arena is the Blue Dragon King, an outsider. Huh, what's so amazing about that? He's just showing off for a while. He will be the one crying later. Voices of criticism rose and fell, turning the entire place into chaos. Several people could not help standing up from their seats. Even on the other small arenas, many of the people who were originally fighting stopped and turned their gazes over. There was only one question in their minds. Why did none of the outstanding talents of the heavenly starry ocean think of going up to the highest arena in advance? Xiao Chen is an outsider. Why does he have the right to ride on their heads? Does he still think that he is the Blue Dragon King with boundless potential? The many holy scions and outstanding talents in the many pavilions in the air, who were resting with their eyes closed, suddenly opened their eyes at the reminder of their elders. The 5 poison sect's holy scions could not help cursing. Damn, he is too arrogant. The Sun Palace's Chu Yang narrowed his eyes and radiated a boundless murderous intent. He snorted coldly and said, "Damn, he is too arrogant." The Sun Palace's Chu Yang narrowed his eyes and released a boundless murderous intent. He snorted coldly and said, "He is really not afraid of death." Soft voices rang out in the Inyang Paradise's pavilion. A group of female disciples looked at Xiao Chen, who was on the arena. Their eyes were faintly discernible. "Elder Sister Susu, this Blue Dragon King is really putting on airs. This is our heavenly starry ocean's gathering, and he, an outsider, actually managed to get ahead of the many holy scions and stand on the highest arena." Tong Susu revealed a look of pity on her pretty face. She said, "How unfortunate. If he does not advance to Martial Emperor in 5 years, he will only have 20 years left to live. In the end, he is a short-lived fellow. Otherwise, this elder sister would really fall in love with him." Even now, Tong Susu could not forget the scene of Xiao Chun forcefully drawing his sword when he faced the many outstanding talents in Despair City. However, in the blink of an eye, Tong Susu's melancholic expression was replaced by a charming one. She smiled seductively and said, "Later, elder sister will make a move and defeat you with my own hands. Don't be too harsh. Those stinky men do not know when to stop." In the Myriad Fiend Island's Jade Pavilion, Yin Shi-san, Di Xinhan, and Mu Qingyun all felt that this was incredible. Mu Qingyun said, "Big brother, what do you think he is doing? Right now, your cultivations are no weaker than his. Is he really not afraid of exposing his trump cards?" Di Xinhan, the strongest person of the Myriad Fiend Island's younger generation and one of Chu Yang's two greatest rivals, entered deep thought. He could not understand what was going on, either, so he looked at Yin Shi-san. Yin Shi-san shrugged his shoulders and smiled helplessly. "Don't look at me. I don't know either. Given my understanding of him in the Kunlun continent, he is not the kind of person who likes to stand out. He must have his reasons for doing this. I don't think so. He is probably going to suffer a setback this time. He seems to have underestimated the strength of the many outstanding talents of our heavenly star island. Not to mention the others, just Big Brother's heavenly spiritual body is already at the small perfection blue-robed emperor. Just his physical body alone is unstoppable. Furthermore, Brother Shursan's massacre sword Dao has already reached the peak. Even the old seniors of my Myriad Fiend Island who use the sword admit that they are not his match." Mu Qingyun, who had nearly been killed by Xiao Chun with one saber strike, analyzed the situation somewhat indignantly. Yin Shi-san and Di Xinhan did not comment. Although they acknowledged Xiao Chen's strength in their hearts, they did not think that there would be a large gap between them and Xiao Chen now that they had reached the blue-robed emperor realm. The Lunar Palace's judges were in the most exquisite palace in the air at all times, paying attention to everything below. They paid attention to everything below. Not a single detail in the Bright Moon Plaza could escape their eyes. Outside the balcony, Yu Bingyun watched as Xiao Chun entered the arena. Then, she shook her head slightly. If this was the method Xiao Chun thought of, did he think that by making an early appearance and showing off, the judges would be speechless? In that case, Yu Bingyun would only be disappointed. This was arrogance. There was no way he could snatch away the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet. A murderous chi slowly soared amid the flute music. 10 white-clad women soared into the air on the highest arena, dancing around with their swords in hand. This dazzled everyone, too much for the eye to take in. As the 10 women pressed forward, Xiao Chen squinted his eyes and looked, but he could not find any openings. Chapter 1101. The murderous sword dance before him was made up of elite disciples. Its overall might was more than double that of the one he faced on the Jade Bridge, making it even harder to deal with. Under the guidance of the murderous sound, the Bright Moon Sword Dance, an ancient inheritance of the Lunar Palace, lived up to its reputation after tens of thousands of years of modification. The combination of 10 Grandmaster-level martial sages and 1 Fong Qingxuan's flute did not simply merge the strength of these people together. Instead, it multiplied the strength of these people. As long as one fell into it, any of the holy scions would have to fight a bitter battle. Several of the outstanding talents did not want to go down early because they were not confident of breaking this murderous sword dance in a short time. Even if they won, they would have to put in a lot of effort. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chun snatched away the limelight. Now, they could not help but call him an egomaniac in their hearts. Many people smiled coldly. They wanted to see how the arrogant Xiao Chun would fall into this murderous sword dance and lose the chance to obtain the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet for the sake of showing off. Would Xiao Chun waste a lot of time in this murderous sword dance and expose his trump cards? Clearly not. Since Xiao Chun could not find an opening, he would force one out. Just as the spiraling murderous sword dance was about to envelop Xiao Chun smiled faintly and let out a loud roar. The magic energy in Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness burned as he executed the dragon tone art at full power. The dragon roar that erupted out instantly tore through the sky, 10,000 times more horrifying than the thunder of the nine heavens. A beam of light pierced through the shattered clouds and landed on Shao Chen's body, illuminating the white-robed Blue Dragon King with a dazzling golden light. Following that, the clouds for 5,000 kilometers around scattered like the autumn wind sweeping away fallen leaves. The light from Shao Chen's body spread throughout the world. In an instant, it was like the entire world had become several times brighter because of Shao Chen, giving everyone a piercing sunlight. This was because he, the Blue Dragon King, roared and tore through the sky, shaking the surroundings and shattering the clouds for 5,000 kilometers around. The bright moon swordsmanship did not have any flaws, but as long as one grasped it well, one could easily create an opening. That flaw was naturally in Fang Qingxuan's flute music that was filled with murderous intent. The dragon tone art was mainly used to deal with the deity race's mental energy martial techniques. However, martial techniques were dead, while people were alive. As long as it could disrupt the opponent's rhythm, any martial technique could be used. This was the principle of learning and applying flexibly. The instant the clouds for 5,000 kilometers around shattered and the sunlight shone on the ground, Shao Chen moved. He charged forward in a straight line, knocking the white-clad disciples in front of him into the air like sandbags. The rhythm of the bright moon sword dance had already been broken. Before Shao Chen, these Lunar Palace disciples were just ordinary Grandmaster-level martial sages. Naturally, they could not block Shao Chen. In an instant, Shao Chen arrived before Fang Qingxian. As she was the one blowing the flute, Shao Chen's dragon tone art focused on Fang Qingxian. At this moment, Fang Qingxuan's complexion was pale, and blood leaked out of a corner of her lips. She had just grasped her sword when Shao Chen struck her wrist with a palm strike, causing her sword to fall to the ground. Shao Chen did not stop moving. He pressed forward and sent out another palm strike. Just as his palm strike was about to land, he thought of something and held back in time. When his palm strike landed on Fang Qingxuan's right shoulder, he sent out a force that knocked her back, but did not injure her at all. With one dragon roar and one exchange, Shao Chen easily broke the famous bright moon sword dance. The situation of Shao Chen getting tangled up in several people's expectations did not happen. Instead, Shao Chen quickly broke the bright moon sword dance with a lightning-fast momentum. Like a whirlwind, Shao Chen did not drag things out, clean and efficient. Shao Chen's white robes fluttered as he stood on the most eye-catching arena. If not for the clouds slowly gathering for 5,000 kilometers in the sky, many people would have suspected that everything they saw was just an illusion. Everything they saw was just an illusion. "Thank you for letting me win," Shao Chen said with a cupped fist salute as he turned around and faced the white-clad disciple still on the arena. The Lunar Palace disciple bowed gracefully and returned the greeting before drifting away. She was like a fairy dancing in the air, a delightful sight to behold. The various holy signs in the many jade pavilions in the air were all shocked. They had not expected Shao Chen to break the bright moon sword dance so easily. All of them remained silent, as if they could not accept this reality. In the jade pavilion where the Zodiac Hall was, Chu Yang stood up with a sullen expression, preparing to charge down. However, Fu Honyao and the group of elders quickly stopped him. "Holy Scion, there is no need to rush. This is just the beginning. He will not be able to maintain his might for long," an old man with a goatee in the Zodiac Hall advised. Fu Honyao said softly, "Senior brother, there is indeed no need to rush. There are many experts in the 100 small arenas below. Several of the outstanding talents from the previous 4C's hero gathering are there. Those people are all in their 40s, and their cultivations are not low. We will definitely be able to force him to draw his saber. At that time, we will know his limits with one look." Chu Yang's expression changed. He slowly sat down and said, "I'll let him be cocky for a while first. When he jumps high enough, I'll trample on him." In the Jade Pavilion, where the Five Poison Sect was, the holy scion of the Five Poison Sect showed an uncertain expression. Soon, he made a decision to watch for a while longer. In the Myriad Fiend Island group, Yin Shi-san was somewhat stunned. He said, I forgot that he knows the dragon tone art. Let's wait a little longer. We will be able to see his true strength after he draws his saber. Bang! The white-clad girl had just left the arena when someone flew over impatiently. This person held a heavy staff and arrived before Xiao Chun. It's Wang Meng. In the previous Four Seas Hero Gathering, he ranked 4th. Now that 20 years have passed, his cultivation has already reached the level of the blue-robed emperor. He will definitely be able to hold his own against Xiao Chun. The moment this person appeared, he immediately caused a huge commotion. Many people recognized him. Xiao Chun squinted and looked over. This person's cultivation was indeed deep, not much weaker than that of some of the holy science. His only regret was that he was rather old, and his potential had already been mostly dug out. Without any fortuitous encounters, it would be very difficult for him to advance to martial emperor in this lifetime. Wang Meng's staff struck the arena heavily, and countless cracks immediately appeared in the ground. As the wind blew, Wang Meng's aura gathered continuously. Wang Meng held his staff with one hand and spun it around. The strong wind howled even more intensely. This simple action pushed his aura to the peak. Even the air turned solid under the pressure of his aura, pressing down on Xiao Chun like a mountain. Wang Meng, I have long heard of the name of the Blue Dragon King. Today, I came to fight you. Sorry for the offense. Right after Wang Meng spoke, he shouted ferociously and soared into the air. Then, he swung his staff at Xiao Chun. Wang Meng's body was like a mountain. The moment he stood up, the force of his feet pushed off the ground. The arena could not withstand it, and it shook intensely. When the staff pressed down, a mysterious phenomenon appeared. 3 huge mountains gathered in the sky. The mountains were so vast that it flabbergasted everyone. Indistinct cracks appeared in the air. It was easy to imagine how strong this staff strike was. Just when everyone thought that Xiao Chun would have to take out his saber to deal with this strong, profound martial technique, Xiao Chun took out a staff as well. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chun also took out a staff. The staff in Xiao Chun's hand spun like the wind. A strong wind howled, and an aura that could topple mountains and flip seas poured out. The sky instantly turned dark, and thunderclouds filled the sky. It was like the end of the world. Bolts of lightning tore through the sky. Just as the staff in Wang Meng's hand was about to press down, Xiao Chun's staff suddenly stopped spinning. The strong wind carried tens of thousands of bolts of lightning behind Xiao Chun. It was like he was pulling tens of thousands of ancient ferocious beasts running in the air. It was a boundless and shocking scene. Xiao Chun did not move. He gently pushed the staff in his hand at Wang Meng. The power of wind and lightning burst forth in an instant. He was like a king leading an army of 10,000. Dressed in white, he stood in the middle of the blood-soaked battlefield. His elegance was outstanding. No one could compare to him. When Xiao Chun stabbed with his staff, the 3 mountains pressing down crumbled in an instant. Wang Meng, who had charged over with a ferocious aura, vomited a mouthful of blood in midair and staggered to the ground. Whoosh! Xiao Chun held his staff like a spear and leaped into the air. The instant Wang Meng landed, he pressed forward. Wang Meng retreated again and again. The tip of the staff was always only an inch away from his throat. That intimidating aura forced him to retreat in a fluster. Wang Meng kept retreating until he reached the edge of the arena. He nearly fell off. Xiao Chun's footsteps sank, and he quickly withdrew his staff. Wang Meng's heart thumped heavily. He thought to himself, that was close. If I really fell off, I would have lost a lot of face. Thank you for letting me win. Xiao Chun cupped his hands in greeting. He did not show any arrogance from defeating his opponent, nor did he show any hypocrisy. He was as calm as the autumn water, polite and restrained. Wang Meng felt his face burn. He did not say anything and turn around to leave. He was truly speechless. Before Wang Meng ascended the arena, his thoughts were very simple. He just wanted to trample on this outdated Blue Dragon King and gain a good reputation in the Four Seas Hero Gathering. If Wang Meng had really done that, he would have been mentioned as the outstanding talent of the Northern Sea who dealt the final blow to the Blue Dragon King. However, the outcome was rather cruel. Wang Meng could not even receive one move from Xiao Chun. If not for Xiao Chun pulling back in time, Wang Ming would have lost in an even more unsightly manner. Not only could Wang Ming not accept such an outcome, but the many cultivators of the heavenly starry ocean also could not accept it. How could an outstanding talent of the heavenly starry ocean, a veteran, be unable to receive even one move from this outsider? Furthermore, he lost to the staff technique that he was most proficient in. The entire place fell silent. Hundreds of thousands of people did not say anything, like they were all mute. They were all planning to see how the arrogant Xiao Chan would be trampled on. However, reality ruthlessly slapped them in the face. How could they accept this? How could they accept this? It seemed like such a scene had never happened in the past 10,000 years in the extraordinarily bustling Four Seas hero gathering. Hundreds of thousands of people fell silent, the place quiet. After a while, another 3 outstanding talents stepped up. However, they all lost to Xiao Chun, all in one move. Xiao Chun used whatever weapon his opponent used. With the simulation of the changing character formula, Xiao Chun was no weaker than his opponent in every weapon. The Four Seas hero gathering continued in silence. There was no commotion or shouting. No one spoke. There was nothing to say. Chapter 11:02. When the Lunar Palace's judges saw this scene, they did not know what to say. Could it be that Xiao Chun could not even get the Blue Dragon King, Xiao Chun, to draw his saber? All the heavenly starry ocean cultivators felt a clump of fire in their hearts, feeling extremely sullen. With Xiao Chun's actions, the hundreds of thousands of heavenly starry ocean cultivators felt humiliated. They raged, but they could not do anything about it. Out of these hundreds of thousands of people, no one dared to say anything. How sorrowful was this? Up in the arena, the first-ranked outstanding talent of the previous Four Seas hero gathering lost in one move to Xiao Chun's spear techniques. Once again, Xiao Chun lost to the weapon he was most proficient in. Finally, someone could no longer hold back his emotions. He shouted angrily, "You so-called holy science, how long are you going to be cowards?" His voice reverberated in the vast and quiet Bright Moon Plaza, echoing in all directions, sounding sorrowful. After a moment of silence, the rage and sullenness in everyone's hearts erupted. Hundreds of thousands of people stood up at the same time and looked at the exquisite jade pavilions in the air. They could not help shouting loudly, "Inherited holy lands, immortal for 10,000 years. If not now, when? Inherited holy lands, immortal for 10,000 years. If not now, when?" The deafening shouts resounded in the surroundings, reverberating in the air. Hundreds of thousands of people shouted at the same time. A scene that had never happened before in the Four Seas hero gathering happened. The holy scions of the Heavenly Province Academy, the Five Poison Sect, the Divine Dragon Palaces of the Four Seas, the Zodiac Hall, and the Yin Paradise all showed extremely unsightly expressions in the many exquisite jade pavilions. This was especially so for the words "inherited holy lands, immortal for 10,000 years. They felt their faces burn. Now, an outsider, the Blue Dragon King who was past his prime in their eyes, actually forced the hundreds of thousands of cultivators in Bright Moon Plaza to turn against them. As Xiao Chun stood in the arena, he entered deep thought. He had not expected such a situation, either. However, this was fine as well. Since he wanted everyone to be speechless, then he would keep a high profile until the end. He did not mind adding fuel to the fire. Xiao Chun said in a clear voice, "The Holy Land of Inheritance is immortal for tens of thousands of years. Today, this untalented Xiao has come for the last Dragon's Gate Mountain Tablet. Holy sons, do you dare to come down and fight?" His voice was not loud, but clearly spread to every corner, suppressing the cheers of hundreds of thousands of people. In the entire Bright Moon Square, everyone went silent at the same time, leaving only Xiao Chen's clear voice, spreading in all directions, echoing leisurely. He was stunned by Xiao Chen's words. Facing so many saints, he actually wanted to challenge all of them alone. Wasn't he a little too arrogant? Xiao Chen's blunt mockery caused all the saint princes to be unable to sit still any longer. Anyone with the slightest bit of courage would be unable to bear it at this moment. let alone these proud and arrogant, outstanding talents. Damn it, do you really think that my heavenly starry ocean has no one capable? I, young Master Qing Shu, will fight with you. In the Heavenly Province Academy's Jade Pavilion, young Master Qing Shu drifted down and looked coldly at Xiao Chun. Young Master Qing Shu smiled coldly and said, "Blue Dragon King, you are indeed arrogant enough. Do you dare to be even more arrogant? When you bullied some of the veteran outstanding talents, you did not use your saber. Do you dare to continue not using your saber when fighting me?" After seeing Xiao Chen's strength, young Master Qing Shu knew that he was no match for Xiao Chen. After thinking for a while, he thought of a way to infuriate Xiao Chun with words. Everyone looked at Xiao Chun, waiting to see how he would answer. If Xiao Chun did not agree, young Master Qing Shu would be in the right. Then, Xiao Chun would become someone who only dared to bully the veteran outstanding talents. As you wish. Xiao Chen's expression remained calm. With a flip of his hand, a white folding fan appeared in his palm. In the palace where the Lunar Palace's judges were, Yu Bingyun appeared somewhat distracted. Is this what Xiao Chen meant by making people speechless? The heroes of the world bustled with activity, coming and going endlessly. Countless outstanding talents emerged from the four seas. However, the Blue Dragon King, Xiao Chun, used only one move, the weapon that the Blue Dragon King excelled at, and defeated them in one move. Such elegance! If one could last until the end, one would indeed be speechless, unable to hesitate. Even the Lunar Palace's judges, who wanted to make things difficult for Xiao Chun and prevent him from taking away the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet, could not do anything or say anything. However, could one really do it? Earlier, when facing the various veteran outstanding talents, Xiao Chun could defeat them in one move. Now that he faced so many holy scions, he still dared to challenge them alone. This was truly arrogant. The cultivators in Bright Moon Plaza were also astonished. Unexpectedly, when facing the holy scions of an immortal holy land, Xiao Chun still dared to not draw his saber, using the weapon that the other party excelled at. Even if Xiao Chun did not say it, he had to admit his elegance in his heart. At the very least, no one in the younger generation would dare to do what Xiao Chen did. Even if the Four Seas Hero Gathering was set back 10,000 years ago, no one had dared to do this. No one had ever done this before or after. Young Master Qing Shu smiled and said, "You are really boundlessly arrogant. To think that you dare to play with a fan before me, young Master Qing Shu. In that case, let's decide victory in one move. Do you accept or not?" In his previous fight with Xiao Chun, young Master Qing Shu had been frightened by Xiao Chen's unpredictable fists, claws, and fists, so he did not dare to drag things out. As long as Xiao Chun agreed to decide victory in one move, and the other party could not use his saber, he would definitely defeat Xiao Chun in an extremely unsightly manner. Before Xiao Chun said anything, Qi Wuxue, who was in the small arena below, mocked, "You are a bona fide holy scion, yet you have so many requests when fighting with someone. Do you really think that this is child's play? Why don't you just say that Xiao Chun is just standing there and not moving and letting you decide?" The moment Qi Wuxue said this, no one retorted. Young Master Qing Shu's actions were indeed somewhat shameless. Those who wanted to speak up for him were too embarrassed to do so. Young Master Qing Shu's expression did not change. However, he smiled coldly in his heart. The winner is king, and the loser is a bandit. As long as he defeated Xiao Chun, all the criticism would vanish like smoke. Xiao Chun smiled faintly and said, "Deciding victory in one move? That suits my intentions. Make your move." When young Master Qing Shu saw Xiao Chun agree, he rejoiced in his heart. He laughed loudly and said, "The Blue Dragon King truly lives up to his reputation as the Blue Dragon King. Such boldness is indeed admirable. However, there is no medicine for regret in this world. I, young Master Qing Shu, will end your short-lived legend. Today, I will show you that not just anyone can play with a fan." Whoosh! Young Master Qing Shu pushed off with his feet and turned into an azure light, charging at Xiao Chun. Everywhere young Master Qing Shu passed, the ground soared up. Many green bamboos stuck firmly into the ground, growing straight. Soon, the entire arena was covered in green bamboos, countless in number. Strong and surging wood-attributed spiritual energy floated in the air, looking thick and viscous. Combined with the righteous chi that young Master Qing Shu cultivated, his aura soared infinitely, reaching an incredible level. It was nearly equal to the great perfection blue-robed emperors. By Yunfei on the Nine Peaks Mountain, the Holy Sun rides the wind and descends to the green hills. Young Master Qing Shu recited a clear poem. He was a scholar of the Confucian sect, filled with righteous qi. The moment he recited the poem, young Master Qing Shu's aura completely changed. He seemed to be in harmony with the noble and unquestionable integrity of the green bamboos. Xiao Qin's eyes lit up. This was rather unique. Young Master Qing Shu used a poem to temporarily change his aura, allowing his aura to completely merge with the mysterious phenomenon of the martial technique, allowing the might of this move to reach a perfect state. However, no matter what, the aura that young Master Qing Shu put on was just that. There was no true feeling. Everything was just a facade. If young Master Qing Shu were as noble and unquestionable integrity as the green bamboos, it would be hard to say who would win if Xiao Chun fought with his folding fan. As for now, Xiao Chun would watch young Master Qing Shu put on a good show before dealing a fatal blow. Amid the green bamboos, Xiao Chun showed a calm expression as he gently fanned himself with the folding fan in his hand. In life, it is important to have a plan in one's heart, to endure difficult trials. It is most important to be humble, to preserve one's strength, to experience wind and rain for a long time, not knowing the cold. The vast poem resounded everywhere and spread out. Every cultivator in Bright Moon Plaza could clearly feel a vast and righteous aura. Young Master Qing Shu's body flickered continuously in the air. Every time he flickered, there would be a poem. In the air, young Master Qing Shu used his folding fan as a brush. He wrote these poems in the air, forming an inextinguishable righteous will. The green bamboos on the ground merged with the poem in the air. The entire arena seemed to turn into an ink painting filled with charm. Young Master Qing Shu, the one holding the brush, had an ethereal figure, completely merging with the world. It was hard to tell where he would appear next. Everyone could only watch as young Master Qing Shu used the poem as a painting in the air, slowly making his martial technique stronger and more perfect. There are 2 or 3 peach blossoms outside the bamboo. Who knows when spring water is warm? Outside the green bamboo, peach blossoms fell one after another, adding a touch of color to this simple and elegant ink painting. All the spectators were shocked. Although young Master Qing Shu's methods were somewhat despicable, his martial technique was indeed shocking. It was nearly invulnerable. However, no one could surpass young Master Qing Shu in terms of the folding fan. No wonder he was so confident. Before the fight even started, he had already determined that Xiao Chun would lose. Another red sun rises. My heart is still the same as the heavens. The dazzling morning sun soared out from young Master Qing Shu's chest, raising his aura to the peak of great perfection Emperor Wu's. It was sufficient to crush someone to death with its aura. Then, this red sun pressed down on Xiao Chun. Looking from all directions, the most eye-catching arena looked like a painting filled with green bamboos and poems decorating this peach blossom river. As for Xiao Chun, he was trapped in the painting like a trapped beast. Many people felt very happy in their hearts. This was the result of being arrogant. Who asked you to be arrogant? Now, even if you wanted to cry, you could not. Inherited Holy Land. Immortal for 10,000 years. The Holy Sun appears, and the Blue Dragon is defeated. Perhaps because the crowd had been stifled for too long, when they saw that young Master Qing Shu held such a great advantage, someone took the lead and shouted. Immediately, the crowd followed suit, and young Master Qing Shu's fame shook the sky. In the small arena below, Qi Wushu cursed. This group of people is too shameless. Xiao Chun is also too much. Why did he agree to it? He should have just beaten him up. The 10 judges of the lunar palace exchanged glances and came to an answer. Yu Bingyun understood in her heart that if Xiao Chun lost this match, no matter how graceful he was earlier, the judges would not give him the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet. A bright moon shines in the sky, a bridge breaks the water, and snow fills the sky. Who knows that my heart is like the moon? Whoever laughs is the person in the painting. Chapter 1103. Just as everyone saw the arena turn into a painting and young master Qing Shu firmly trapping Xiao Chun in the painting, Xiao Chun muttered a cold, desolate, and proud poem. The martial technique hidden in the fan silently unfolded. A small bridge, a flowing river, and a bright moon appeared one after another, complemented by the 1,000 frost-battle snow. Snow filled the sky, cutting off the flowing river and making the moon appear even colder. Everyone suddenly realized that the painting on the arena suddenly had many more sceneries, causing the originally simple and elegant painting to become colorful and colorful, competing with each other in beauty. However, something even more horrifying happened. The instant Xiao Chun, who was clearly trapped in the painting, finished reciting the poem, he leaped out of the painting and became someone outside. Young Master Qing Shu immediately leaped out of the painting, becoming someone outside the painting. As for young Master Qing Shu, who used the world as the ink and the fan as the brush to paint, he became someone inside the painting, trapped within it. What's going on? What's going on? The crowd, who had been shouting about the inheritance of the Holy Land and the Immortal for 10,000 years, stopped. Shock filled their hearts, and incredulity filled their faces. They could not understand what was happening. Why was it that one moment earlier, Xiao Chun was still the person in the painting? In the next moment, Xiao Chun became outside the painting, trapping young Master Qing Shu instead? How could the crowd, who had been shouting about the appearance of the Holy Sun and the defeat of the Blue Dragon, endure this? When the many older generation Confucian sect experts in the Heavenly Province Academy's Jade Pavilion saw this scene, their eyes filled with disbelief. Others might not understand, but as peak experts of the Confucian sect, how could they not understand? The martial technique that young Master Qing Shu practiced was one of the Academy's 10 great, profound martial techniques, picturesque landscape. It had a total of 4 layers. They were raising the brush to paint, one with the painting, breaking out of the painting, and the most profound, painting outside the painting. Young Master Qing Shu was an outstanding talent that only appeared once every few hundred years in the Heavenly Province Academy. He learned this martial technique at a young age and reached the level of raising the brush to paint, using the world as his ink and the fan as his brush. Young Master Qing Shu even used a trick to enter the second layer of one with the painting, raising the might of picturesque landscape to another level. However, who knew? Xiao Chun immediately saw through young Master Qing Shu's trick. Xiao Chen's aura was not like Qing Zhu's, creating a major flaw in the painting. As for Xiao Chun, he was like a god. With just one look, he comprehended the essence of this move. He used a poem that was similar to his own character. Whoever was laughing in the painting could laugh at who. It was clear who was superior. This person definitely knows some kind of cultivation technique that can imitate other people's martial techniques. Otherwise, even if he could see the essence of this move, he would not be able to jump out of the painting and trap Qing Shu. Otherwise, he would not be able to do so. Another person added, "That can't be wrong. Otherwise, it would be hard to explain why a bladesman like him knows so many weapons. Furthermore, he seems to have learned them well. How high must one's perception be to dare to cultivate this kind of cultivation method?" An old man sighed softly. Indeed, even if such a cultivation technique was placed before these consummation blue-robed emperors, they would not dare to cultivate it. There was no other reason. Without sufficient comprehension ability, not only would they not be able to increase their strength, but they would even lose themselves in it, finding it hard to advance. Their strength might even regress. Up in the palace, Yu Bingyun muttered to herself, "Who knows that my heart is like the moon? The moon is a lone flower admiring itself, no one able to understand it. It has been alone for thousands of years, a cold, proud, and lonely existence. What kind of person could come up with such a poem, comparing himself to the bright moon? What kind of person could use such a thought to trap the confident young Master Qing Shu in the painting? In the arena, young Master Qing Shu appeared confused. He did not know what happened. Xiao Chun, whom he suppressed in front, suddenly moved. It was like there was a barrier that he could never cross. Young Master Qing Shu could only fly forward, getting further and further away from Xiao Chun. Young Master Qing Shu clearly brought out the full might of this picturesque landscape. However, he could only watch helplessly as Xiao Chun moved further away from him, unable to do anything. Xiao Chun remained silent. Then, he folded the folding fan in his hand and gently tapped the painting in front of him on young Master Qing Shu's chest. In young Master Qing Shu's opinion, Xiao Chun, who was at the ends of the world, closed the distance with one hand, catching him off guard and forcing him to suffer this heavy blow. To others, it looked like Xiao Chun was just standing outside the painting, gently tapping it with his brush. Bang! Young Master Qing Shu vomited a mouthful of blood. His internal organs ruptured as he suffered a backlash from his cultivation technique. The mysterious phenomena scattered, and the painting shattered. Young Master Qing Shu tumbled out of the arena. When he landed, he kicked up a large cloud of dust and rumbled endlessly. This startled young Master Qing Shu awake. When he saw the white-robed Xiao Chun in the highest arena, his eyes widened. Then, he pointed at Xiao Chun, his eyes filled with horror. You actually trapped me in the painting. How can it be? Pussy eye. Young Master Qing Shu vomited another mouthful of blood. He could not accept this blow, so he fainted from frustration. When everyone thought about what young Master Qing Shu said earlier, they felt like his words were still ringing in their ears. However, despite all his scheming and shamelessness, he still could not end Xiao Chen's legend. Instead, he buried his reputation here. If you want to not draw my saber, I will not draw my saber. If you want to decide victory or defeat with one move, I will do as you wish. No matter how many schemes you have, I only need one move to defeat you. A strange silence reappeared in Bright Moon Plaza. A scene that made hundreds of thousands of people fall silent once again appeared in the Four Seas Hero Gathering. The savior in many people's hearts still could not make Xiao Chun draw his saber. Xiao Chun still lost to the weapon he was most proficient with. Furthermore, it was just one move. Now, the signs of the various immortal holy lands and some of the hidden noble clans were no longer hot-blooded. Even if another 1 million people called themselves the immortal holy lands, they would not go up. They needed to wait until Xiao Chun showed some signs of weakness before they could go up. Otherwise, not only would they fail to trample on him, they would also lose their reputation. The quiet Bright Moon Plaza paused for a moment. The many outstanding talents in the other small arenas had long since lost interest. One person had snatched away all the spotlight. Even though they were fighting brilliantly, no one paid attention to it. However, they did not have the courage to go up to the most eye-catching arena. Even the Holy Scions were defeated in one move. How could they dare to go up? In the Inyang Paradise's Jade Pavilion, a female disciple smiled and said, "First senior sister, these men do not dare to go up anymore. You should go up and raise the prestige of our Inyang Paradise." That's right. That's right. Elder sister said it before. In order to prevent those stinky men from injuring the Blue Dragon King, we have to defeat them gently with our own hands. Tong Susu rolled her eyes at the two girls and scolded them with a smile. Elder sister has never been beaten by a man before. If I really get defeated in one move, even if I do not advance to Martial Emperor in 5 years and have only 20 years left to live, Elder sister's heart will not be able to leave that person. In the Zodiac Hall, Chu Yang and Fu Hongyao remained silent, showing complicated expressions. Chu Yang had tossed away his earlier ambitions long ago. He wished that he could immediately go up and beat up Xiao Chun. However, his rationality told him that this was not the time to make an appearance. It was not worth it to lose his reputation at the hands of someone who did not have much lifespan left. The Lunar Palace's judges all had expressions of having everything under control. Now, they also showed expressions of not knowing what to do. To think that one person could force the Four Seas hero gathering to stop. This was a big joke. In the Myriad Fiend Island's Jade Pavilion, Yin Shursen stood up and prepared to go up. However, Di Shinhan stretched out his hand and stopped him. Di Shinhan said, "Brother Shursan, let me go. After all, this is the Four Seas hero gathering of my heavenly starry ocean." Yin Shursan turned his head and said, "Think carefully. You are just seeking defeat. If I go up, I can make him draw his saber. That will definitely increase your chances of victory. I left the Yin clan long ago and do not care about my reputation. However, you're different. You still have the Myriad Fiend Island, an immortal holy land, behind you." Di Shinhan smiled and said, "Victory and defeat are common in battles. It seems that since I made my debut, I have never lost to a person of the same generation in the heavenly starry ocean. So what if I lose once?" Towards the end, Di Shinhan added sullenly, "Furthermore, this is the Four Seas hero gathering of my heavenly starry ocean. Someone has to step up. If everyone remains silent and watches, hoping to be the fisherman, then our generation will be finished." Yin Shursen thought for a while and did not insist. He took a step back and said, "Take care." While everyone remained silent, the Myriad Fiend Islands Di Shinhan silently landed on the most eye-catching arena. Di Shinhan's appearance immediately lit up the eyes of several people, a flame of hope igniting in them. Di Shinhan was born with a heavenly spiritual body, a special physique. He was the top genius of the Myriad Fiend Island. Since he made his debut, he had never lost to anyone of the same generation. The reason was none other than his strong, heavenly spiritual body. At the crucial moment, even if he could not defeat his opponent, he could still end the fight in a draw. In terms of physical strength, he was publicly recognized as the strongest person of the same generation in the heavenly starry ocean. No one could compare to him. Furthermore, his cultivation, combat techniques, and comprehension ability were not bad. No matter where he went, he would always be the center of attention. He would always be one of the few people at the top of the pyramid of the younger generation. His status had never wavered. While the many holy scions watched from the sidelines, not daring to make a move, Di Shinhan dared to step forward. He was indeed a true man. However, the people present did not say anything. They only silently praised Di Shinhan in their hearts. "Blue Dragon King, I have long heard of your great name. I wanted to fight you in Despair City. Unfortunately, at that time, my cultivation was one cultivation realm lower than yours, so I did not dare to challenge you. Today, please give me some pointers." Di Shinhan performed a cupped fist salute and looked calmly at Xiao Chun. He did not show the sophistry of young Master Qing Shu or the anger of those veteran outstanding talents. Xiao Chun returned the cupped fist salute. He had seen the other party in Despair City. In Xiao Chun's opinion, if Di Shinhan had challenged him at that time, he would have had a 30% chance of winning. Now that Di Shinhan challenged him, he would not even have a 30% chance. On the surface, it looked like the two were of the same cultivation, both small perfection blue-robed emperor. However, in reality, the difference was rather large. Xiao Chun was a peak small perfection blue-robed emperor. Furthermore, the foundation of advancing to blue-robed emperor was breaking through and establishing 10,000 heavenly sage laws. In this aspect, Di Shinhan was not as good as Xiao Chun. More importantly, in the half a year of seeking dragons and fixing veins, he had fought with all sorts of ferocious beasts, gaining a deep comprehension of the changing character formula. Chapter 1104. In that dark and cold seabed, Xiao Chen's mental state had been tempered to a horrifying level, much stronger than that of several older generation cultivators. Xiao Chun collected his thoughts and said calmly, "This Xiao has heard of your name for a long time already." The heavenly spiritual body was a peak physique even during the ancient era. As one's cultivation increased, their combat prowess would increase by leaps and bounds. Now that you have reached the blue-robed emperor realm, I believe that Brother Di's heavenly spiritual body has improved by another level. Di Shinhan revealed a proud expression. He did not comment on Xiao Chen's words. He said, "Not to mention anything else, just in terms of physical body, I believe that no one in the same generation can compare to me, including Brother Xiao. But I don't like to play tricks, to compare my strengths with other people's weaknesses, and to be pleased with myself after winning." Clearly, Di Xinhan's words had a deeper meaning. He was referring to young Master Qingshu. He disdained playing such tricks. "Today, when I fought with Brother Xiao, I knew that I could not defeat you, so I did not ask for too much. As long as I can force Brother Xiao to draw his saber, it will be worth it." Di Xinhan appeared very magnanimous, not arrogant at all. In the earlier battles, Xiao Chun had already used his actions to prove his strength. There was no need to admit that he was not as good as the other party. Xiao Chun liked Di Xinhan's lofty sentiments. Among the many holy scions, Di Xinhan was indeed a true man. Actually, in the Kunlun continent, before the king conferral ceremony, I relied on the advantage of my physical body to make a name for myself among the same generation. Today, when I see Brother Di, I do not wish for anything else but to experience the might of the heavenly spiritual body. Di Xinhan immediately understood. "You want to fight me purely with the physical body?" Xiao Chen nodded and said, "That's right. Just the physical body, nothing else." After saying that, Xiao Chun did not hesitate. He circulated the blue dragon body nourishing art, and a complete battle armor formed from pure blue dragon energy covered Xiao Chen's entire body. The battle armor was engraved with blue dragon patterns. It flickered with light and gave off a heroic aura. Di Xinhan originally thought that Xiao Chun was joking. He was very clear on how horrifying his heavenly spiritual body was. However, when he saw the azure-colored battle armor slowly appear on Xiao Chen's body, his expression slowly turned grave. When the battle armor took shape, Xiao Chen's expression no longer showed any signs of relaxation. He smiled bitterly and said, "I take back what I said earlier. However, I am confident that I still have a 50% chance of winning if we compete in physical strength." Xiao Chan said with a smile, "To be honest, I'm sure I could defeat Brother Di in one move if we compare moves. However, among my peers, I've never competed purely in terms of physical body. There's no other reason, but because there's really no one who can match me. I believe you can understand my feelings, Brother Di." Di Xinhan could not help laughing loudly. He had truly found a confidant. Among those of the same generation, Di Xinhan had never competed in physical strength with anyone. Similarly, he could not find an opponent in the heavenly starry ocean. "Very well. Today, this Di will compete with Brother Xiao. Let's see whether your blue dragon war body or my heavenly spiritual body is stronger." Right after Di Xinhan spoke, he drove the heavenly spiritual body. A set of sky blue battle armor appeared on his body as well. This battle armor was formed purely from heavenly spiritual energy. It looked solid and thick. Xiao Chan wanted to compete in physical strength with Di Xinhan. Now, the crowd, which had been calm for a long time, could not help turning restless. Di Xinhan's physical body was famous in the heavenly starry ocean. No one doubted that he was the strongest within the same generation. Xiao Chen really picked whichever bone was the hardest. In an instant, victory became hard to predict. This piqued the interest of countless people. Although many people did not say anything, their impression of Xiao Chen had already changed significantly. Although Xiao Chen's words were somewhat unconvincing, his tone did not contain any arrogance. Instead, his words were solid and filled with strength. Every time he won, he defeated his opponent with a great advantage. However, in all these battles, no one had ever seen Xiao Chen become arrogant after a victory. On the contrary, the many outstanding talents of the heavenly starry ocean, who came out with surging auras, ended up making fools of themselves. Honestly speaking, it was hard for anyone to be unconvinced of such an expert. This was especially so now. Xiao Chen's conversation with Di Xinhan was very polite and restrained. Everyone could see the side of Xiao Chen that craved a challenge. Even a consummation quasi-emperor would not dare to say such a thing when competing with the heavenly spiritual body with the physical body. However, Xiao Chen did this, rising to the challenge and facing it head-on. "Brother Xiao, are you ready?" Di Xinhan asked. Di Xinhan's heavenly spiritual body was a special physique that he was born with. Xiao Qin's blue dragon war body was acquired. Right now, there was not much difference between the two. However, when it came to the convenience of moving vital qi, the acquired Xiao Chun would be slower than Di Xinhan, no matter what. Hence, Di Xinhan's question was to let Xiao Chun have a fair fight. After a while, the blue dragon body nourishing art circulated through his meridians. Then, Xiao Qin nodded and said, "That's enough." The two bowed to each other again and moved back 1 kilometer. The instant they landed, all their auras burst forth. Azure-colored heaven dragons came out of Xiao Qin's body. This was a mysterious phenomenon formed by pure vital qi. The huge heaven dragon swam behind Xiao Qin. 10 dragons danced around, stirring up winds and clouds. Lightning flashed and thunder roared endlessly, causing the sky to change color. Di Xinhan's aura was no weaker than Xiao Qin's. 10 faint blue heaven dragons swam around his body. Strong winds suddenly formed in the surroundings. The winds howled back and forth in the sky, creating several horrifying bolts of lightning. The two showed stern expressions as they shouted a war cry. Then, they quickly ran at each other. Di Xinhan's body was like a tall mountain. With every step he took, he left a complete footprint on the ground. The entire arena shook intensely. The mysterious phenomenon was even more horrifying. Before the two approached, the two different auras clashed with each other in midair. It was hard to tell who would win. The heavy footsteps sounded like thunder, making the hearts of all the cultivators present pound heavily. Since the Blue Dragon King, Xiao Chun, ascended to the highest arena, this was the most difficult battle for the crowd to determine the victor. Who would win and who would lose was very worrying. If someone were to look down from the sky, they would discover that the depth of the footprints left behind by the two men was almost the same. However, at the corners, Xiao Qin's footprints were round and traceless. As for Di Xinhan's footprints, tiny cracks appeared at the edges. Before the crowd's anticipation, the two quickly approached each other. Who would win and who would lose would be revealed in the next moment. Boom! The strong clash happened in an instant. These two were peak experts of the same generation with strong physical bodies. One could not find an opponent in the heavenly starry ocean, and the other could not find an opponent in the Kunlun continent. As for who was stronger and who was weaker, it affected everyone's hearts. As the wind and clouds changed, a huge explosion rang out from the arena. Tiny cracks appeared in the void, as if space was about to be torn apart. Berserk dragons soared and danced around chaotically. In merely one breath, the victor was decided. Di Xinhan retreated quickly, and cracks appeared in his battle armor. Then it shattered, and he fell to the ground with disheveled hair. Then he staggered back a few more steps until he was only a hair's breadth away from the edge of the arena. Xiao Chun took 10 steps back, and blood leaked out of a corner of his lips. He coughed and vomited another 3 mouthfuls of blood. Clearly, he was severely injured. In this kind of head-on confrontation, it was almost impossible for one to not be injured. Xiao Qin clearly knew that using such a method to fight was disadvantageous to him. However, he still chose to do so without hesitation. Aside from a desire in his heart, Xiao Qin also wanted to prove to the Lunar Palace's judges that he, Xiao Qin, could defeat anyone in the heavenly starry ocean using the method that the other party was best at. He wanted to make the Lunar Palace's judges speechless. He wanted to take away the Dragon's Gate's final mountain tablet in this world. Even if Xiao Qin got injured, he would not hesitate to be arrogant for once. So what if he challenged the various martial sages? Di Xinhan paled, looking even more miserable than Xiao Qin's. He smiled bitterly and said, "My heavenly spiritual body is not weaker than your blue dragon war body. Unfortunately, my control over my strength is much weaker." As Di Xinhan spoke, he vomited a few more mouthfuls of blood. However, he did not show much dismay on his face. Instead, he appeared very carefree. Xiao Qin said calmly, My blue dragon war body is acquired. Your heavenly spiritual body is innate. In terms of control over my strength, I am definitely stronger than you. The reason was easy to explain. For the sake of cultivating the blue dragon war body, Xiao Qin needed to continuously test and temper himself. The innate heavenly spiritual body did not require much testing. It was there from birth. All he needed to do was strengthen and raise his cultivation. Xiao Qin did not stop speaking. He continued, however, in reality, an innate heavenly spiritual body is much more convenient. If you did not give me time to prepare at the start, the victor would be hard to predict. Di Xinhan smiled and said, the Blue Dragon King is too humble. Even if I did not give you time to prepare, my chances of defeating you would still be very slim. Your fine control over your strength is much stronger than mine. In this battle, I, Di Xinhan, accept my defeat wholeheartedly. I finally saw the weakness of the heavenly spiritual body. In the future, after I fix it, I will definitely fight with you again. After saying that, Di Xinhan turned around and left in a free and easy manner. Defeated, Di Xinhan also lost. Furthermore, he lost to his strongest point in one move. Such an ending was very dispiriting. Xiao Qian did not even have the chance to draw his saber. Such a situation appeared in the 10,000-year Four Seas hero gathering, turning it into a stage for outsiders. It was easy to imagine the bitterness in the hearts of the cultivators in Bright Moon Plaza. However, although they felt bitter, the many cultivators no longer felt much hatred or jealousy for Xiao Qian. Xiao Qian's actions were not cheap tricks. Although his words were arrogant, he relied on his true strength to win every battle. No one could deny that. Whoosh! This time, they did not have to wait for long. A person quickly flew down from the Jade Pavilion. It was the Five Poison Sect's holy son, Chunlin. Why was it that after Xiao Qian defeated his opponent in one move, the crowd paused for a long time before Di Xinhan made his appearance? This battle had only just ended when Chunlin rushed over to kill his opponent. The reason was simple. Xiao Qian was injured. Strictly speaking, his injuries were not light. Chapter 1105. When Chunlin fought with Di Xinhan, it looked like he defeated his opponent in one move. However, it was a bitter victory. Chunlin's white robes were stained with blood, and his internal organs were significantly injured. It would be difficult for him to recover in a short time. Chunlin narrowed his eyes and smiled evilly. I know that in your current state, you want to defeat me in one move as well, lest your injuries worsen. Unfortunately, I will not give you this opportunity. My Five Poison Sect is best at torturing our opponents to death over a long period of time. Right after Chunlin spoke, he did not bow or give Xiao Qian a chance to speak. He simply threw a palm strike. A boundless black poison fog spewed out from his palm. In the blink of an eye, it covered the entire arena. The thick poison fog was something between formless and tangible. It was clearly thick and viscous. However, it seemed somewhat illusory. When one stretched out one's hand to grab it, one would not be able to grab anything. It was extremely strange. This is the Five Poison Sect's Phantom Poison Palm. Everyone in the audience recognized this poisonous fog at once, and a look of astonishment appeared on their faces. This martial technique was extremely vicious. It could not be executed with a cultivation technique alone. It needed to be combined with the king-grade poisons that the Five Poison Sect refined. Once it was executed, it would not be easy to dispel. It was extremely difficult to deal with. Even the great perfection blue-robed emperor of the older generation would have to flee when he ran into this poison fog. This is not good. The people of the Five Poison Sect are difficult to deal with in the first place. Furthermore, Xiao Qian was just injured. His body is at its weakest. With the poison fog, he will be even more injured. The fight has not even started, and Chunlin already has the advantage. Given Chunlin's craftiness, he will not clash head-on with Xiao Qian. He will keep using the poison fog to torture Xiao Qian. Then, when he is completely weakened, he will come and humiliate the Blue Dragon King. However, even if Chunlin wins like this, it is too dishonorable. Several people sighed softly. When they saw Chun Lin holding the advantage, they did not feel happy. If Chun Lin acted like a man, like Di Shinhan, even if he lost, everyone would feel that he was a man. Using poison fog to deal with someone who was just injured and weak was simply unbearable. Ha! Blue Dragon King, if you could beg for mercy now, I can give you a quick death. Otherwise, this phantom poison fog will accumulate in your body, worsening your injuries. At that time, you will only feel worse. Chun Lin's erratic and cocky laughter came from within the poison fog. Don't think about it for too long. Otherwise, even if you beg me like a dog, I won't give you any chance. He came and went like the wind. Chun Lin's figure seemed to have merged with the poisonous mist. It was impossible to discover him. Xiao Chen tried a few times within the poison fog, using a strong wind to disperse the poison fog. However, he discovered that it did not work, so he gave up. Instead, he opened his mouth and inhaled. Xiao had Lin had not had before, but he had not had. Had. Lin had Xiao like a Chun had, and had not done had, but he had. He aside he and had. He. Lin, and Chun had Chun he Lin. Aside he could. Lin, the Lin. Xiao had used hundreds of Holy Spirit veins to fill his heavenly seal, but he had not managed to do so. This bit of poison fog was nothing to him. Xiao Chun did not even bother to refine the poison fog. He just let it run its own course in his vast heavenly seal. When the poison fog scattered, Chun Lin's figure appeared, his face filled with shock and extreme incredulity. How can this be? You actually swallowed the phantom poison fog whole. Xiao Chun could not be bothered with Chun Lin. He raised his hand and mercilessly threw a palm strike. A bright moon rose up from behind Xiao Chun. Infused with hot-bloodedness, it burned like fire. As Xiao Chun threw a palm strike, countless figures surged out from under the bright moon. This palm strike contained lofty sentiments and hot-bloodedness. When Xiao Chun threw this palm strike, it was like a flame blazed in everyone's heart, inextinguishable, undefeatable for 1,000 years. They all felt the lofty sentiments and hot-bloodedness of the Blue Dragon King. With the suppression of cultivation and martial techniques, Chun Lin could not resist at all when facing Xiao Chen's 1,000-year flame, directly getting knocked back. When Chun Lin landed, his entire body was covered in wounds, not a single spot intact. If not for Xiao Chen's calmness and holding back, this palm strike would have smashed Chun Lin into pieces. The moon set, and Xiao Chun withdrew his technique. He stood upright with his hands behind his back and looked around calmly. Then he asked sullenly, "Who else wants to fight with me? If you can block 2 moves from me, Xiao Chun, will be considered defeated and unworthy of taking away the Dragon's Gate's final mountain tablet." The moment Xiao Chun said that, a huge commotion broke out. The Blue Dragon King's tyranny was on full display. Someone wanted to say something in rebuttal. However, when they thought about how Xiao Chun had fought so far, from a moment he appeared to breaking the bright moon sword dance to defeating all his opponents in 1 move, no one was spared. Regardless of whether you are an outstanding talent of the past or the immortality Holy Sun, I only need 1 move to defeat you. After thinking about it, no one could think of anything to say in rebuttal. This only proved that at this moment, the Blue Dragon King, Xiao Chun, was indeed qualified to say such words. Among those of the same generation, only he was qualified to do so. Aside from him, no one else could say such a thing. The expressions of the Lunar Palace's 10 judges could not help changing slightly as they discussed in soft voices. After fighting to this point, there was no doubt about Xiao Chen's strength. Even if Xiao Chun stepped down now, they still had a balance in their hearts and would give the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet to him. There was nothing much to say. No matter how much the judges disliked the Qing Emperor's descendants, when faced with Xiao Chen's current glory, they had to admit that the Lunar Palace still had this bit of magnanimity and confidence. However, Xiao Chun chose to continue fighting. This made things a little uncertain. If it was really as he said, and someone blocked 1 move from him, then the Lunar Palace might not necessarily give the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet to him. Only the Zodiac Hall's Holy Scion has not appeared yet. Let's wait and see. The leader of the Lunar Palace's judges said, coming to a conclusion. Whether the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet would be given to Xiao Chan would depend on this final match. The other judges nodded gently, not expressing any objections. Yu Bingyun, who had been listening to the judges at the side, shook her head slightly. She could not help looking at Xiao Chun, who was in the arena below. In his current state, could he still defeat Chu Yang in one move? Senior brother. In the Jade Pavilion where the Zodiac Hall was, Fu Hongyao called out to Chu Yang, who was about to leave the arena. Fu Hongyao frowned somewhat worriedly. Chu Yang stopped and did not look back. He only sighed and said, Hongyao, I promised you that I would return the humiliation that Xiao Chun brought you 100-fold. I will definitely do as I said. After saying that, Chu Yang leaped up and landed on the highest arena. The instant Chu Yang leaped up, the many cultivators in Bright Moon Plaza suddenly discovered that the sky had turned dark. For some reason, when they looked up, they saw the twinkling stars. The next thing they felt was a piercing pain in their eyes, like needles pricking them. It was extremely unbearable. They circulated their energies to recover for a while before they felt better. They squinted and looked carefully. Then their mouths gaped open in shock. At some point in time, a sun had appeared in the sky. Its light was simply too dazzling. At the very start, it overwhelmed the radiance of the blazing sun. As a result, many scenes of the boundless starry heavens appeared before everyone's eyes. After a moment, these people recovered from the piercing pain. It's the Sun Palace's Chu Yang. He finally came out. If he gets defeated by Xiao Chun as well, no one will dare to fight with Xiao Chun anymore. Given Xiao Chun's current state, defeating Chu Yang in one move seems rather difficult. Before everyone's eyes, that sun carried the last hope of all the cultivators of the heavenly starry ocean. It slowly landed on the arena, but did not land on the ground. Chu Yang, who was hovering in midair, looked coldly at Xiao Chun, looking like a sovereign. He said indifferently, Blue Dragon King, you are really arrogant. Don't forget, no matter how arrogant you are now, if you do not advance to Martial Emperor in 5 years, you will still die a short-lived death. Xiao Chun stood upright with his hands behind his back. He said calmly, who can say for sure what will happen in the future? You are Chu Yang, right? I also have some grudges with Zodiac Hall. No matter the result of today's battle, let's write off this grudge. Chu Yang smiled and said, that is exactly what I wanted. However, don't blame me for not reminding you. You had best take out your lunar shadow saber. Otherwise, I'm afraid that after this battle, you will not have the courage to draw your saber again for the rest of your short life. Xiao Chun shook his head, feeling that there was no need to draw his saber. Seeing that Xiao Chun did not budge, showing no intention of drawing his saber, rage flashed on Chu Yang's face. He said sullenly, you short-lived ghost. You have at most 20 more years to live. Don't think too highly of yourself. Today, let's see how you're going to defeat me in one move. You want to take away the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet at the last moment of your life, fulfilling your wish. I, Chu Yang, will not let you have it. Right after Chu Yang spoke, the blazing light on his body burned fiercely like a flame. The piercing light appeared again. The crowd, who had experienced it before, quickly closed their eyes lest they get burned. After a while, they circulated their energies to their eyes and carefully opened them to take a look. They saw Chu Yang's aura rising. A fiery red sun appeared around his body, and a blood-red sun mark appeared on his forehead. An indistinct image of a sunbird appeared behind Chu Yang. It was like he had descended into the world with a real sun. The air in Bright Moon Plaza became extremely hot, causing everyone to feel the heat. Sweat continuously dripped from their foreheads. It looks like the rumors are true. Chu Yang did indeed enter closed-door cultivation in the Sun Star. Otherwise, this mysterious phenomenon would not be so horrifying. Do you see the sun mark on his forehead? That is a sign that he has successfully cultivated the Sun Scripture. Xiao Chun is really in danger. Even in his peak state, he probably cannot defeat Chu Yang. So what if Chu Yang wins? He only has 20 more years to live. Does he really think that he can advance to Martial Emperor in 5 years? He might as well do Xiao Chun a favor. Chu Yang is right. No matter how outstanding he is, he only has 20 more years to live. 20 years? He can't even live past 50. That is rather sad. No matter what, I should have no problem living to 300 years. When the many cultivators saw Chu Yang's horrifying aura, they started discussing him. A short-lived ghost, a has-been genius, just a first-rate star. From the start of the Four Seas hero gathering until now, this was not the first time Xiao Chun heard such words. Chapter 1106. When everyone looked at Xiao Chun, aside from marveling at his strength, there was also a look of pity in their eyes. Those with malicious thoughts mocked him mercilessly, mocking him to the extreme, taking pleasure in his misfortune. If Xiao Chun did not advance to martial emperor in 5 years, he would have only 20 years left to live. Before he reached 50, he would die young, becoming a meteor streaking across the Golden Age. This was the Blue Dragon's sorrow. No matter how strong one's mental state was, anyone would feel heartache when they thought of this. In the past 20-odd years of my life, I have fought my way through many battles. It has already been very difficult. However, when I reached the peak of my generation, I ended up encountering this undeserved calamity. I can defeat many outstanding talents and sweep through the younger generation of the Kunlun continent. In the heavenly starry ocean, I could defeat the outstanding talents of the Four Seas in one move. So what? If I do not advance to martial emperor in 5 years, I will still be a meteor. Right now, no matter how dazzling the light was, it only made people feel that it was a pity. What he revealed was still a look of sympathy. Suddenly, thousands of blood-red white remnant flowers floated up in the hot air. The white remnant flowers were like blood, filled with grief. Every petal radiated the grief of the Blue Dragon King and the Blue Dragon King's dissatisfaction. Before everyone's eyes, a scarlet waning moon slowly rose up from behind Xiao Chun. Scarlet light filled everyone's eyes. Everywhere they looked was grief. No matter who it was, all the heat in their bodies was swept away at this moment, replaced by a strange melancholy. Everyone felt Xiao Chun's grief and sensed Xiao Chun's dissatisfaction. Under the cold and invincible mask, the Blue Dragon King also had a heart that could be hurt. The sound of gushing water rang out beside Xiao Chun. That was the river of time that Xiao Chun simulated with his mental state. He was on a lone boat, moving along the river under the scarlet moonlight. Time passed, and 10,000 years passed. Xiao Chun's expression changed. Before everyone's eyes, it was like he went through reincarnation after reincarnation, changing again and again. Only the scarlet moonlight on his body did not change. The river could not wash away the grief covering his body. Who saw the moon for the first time by the riverside? When did the moon on the river first shine? Generation after generation is endless. The river and moon are alike year after year. Under the illumination of the blood-colored moonlight, Xiao Chun, who was dressed in white and accompanied by thousands of blood-colored flowers, looked exceptionally sad. 1,000-year death. I have a palm that speaks only of sorrow and not joy. Along with the grief in his heart, Xiao Chun took advantage of the situation and threw a palm strike at the dazzling Chu Yang, who was sneering at him with cold eyes. Although my heart is hurt, I do not blame anyone. I did not draw my saber not because I'm looking down on you, but because I really do not need to draw my saber. The grief that this palm strike exuded was endless. It contained an endless cycle of reincarnation, a grief that could not be washed away even after thousands of years. Chu Yang's state of mind collapsed in an instant, and he had yet to regain consciousness. The sun halo around Xiao Chun's body and the sun god bird behind him crumbled under the power of this palm strike. The palm force did not stop there. Chu Yang, who was sent flying, crashed into a jade pavilion in the air, startling the people inside and causing them to scatter. In that instant, the jade pavilion shattered. The shattered pieces were like a small mountain, burying the severely injured and unconscious Chu Yang. This allowed Chu Yang to preserve his final bit of face, not letting anyone see his tattered clothes and disheveled hair, looking like a sorry beggar. A strong sense of sorrow pervaded the square, reverberating in everyone's heart. The Blue Dragon King, Xiao Qin's dissatisfaction, grief, and pain were all expressed vividly in this palm strike. Everyone could clearly feel it, just like they did. Xiao Qian stopped circulating his energy and stood upright with his hands behind his back. The aura of grief slowly vanished after the remnant flowers vanished and the blood moon vanished. Plop! Chu Yang crawled out of the rubble on the ground with much difficulty. When he looked at Xiao Chun, who was in the highest arena, his eyes filled with shock. That earlier palm strike was indeed terrifyingly mighty. However, if that were all, it would not have been able to injure him so severely. The most important thing was that the state of grief contained in that palm strike instantly crumbled Chu Yang's mental state. His momentum and fighting spirit all vanished. The instant Xiao Chun attacked, he crippled most of his martial techniques. At this moment, Chu Yang had nothing to say. He accepted his defeat wholeheartedly. However, he absolutely would not let this go. He, Chu Yang, was the strongest person in the Zodiac Hall. Since his debut, he had never suffered a defeat in the heavenly starry ocean. If not for Di Han's heavenly spiritual body and shocking physical body, he would not have found a true opponent. However, today, Chu Yang lost so cleanly. This was simply unacceptable. The many old men of the Zodiac Hall followed Fu Hongyao out of the Jade Pavilion to check on his injuries. There's no need. I'm fine. Let's go. Chu Yang waved his hand and wiped off the blood on his lips. Then he walked out of the rubble and glanced at Xiao Chun, who was in the arena. He said coldly, Xiao Chun, let me tell you this. Today's matter is definitely not over. I, Chu Yang, will not admit defeat so easily. After saying that, Chu Yang rode on the sun god bird of the Zodiac Hall and quickly left Bright Moon City, not willing to stay any longer. Defeated. Xiao Chun defeated Chu Yang in one move, shattering the last hope of the many cultivators of the heavenly starry ocean. Even now, Xiao Chun did not draw his saber. Such a result was somewhat hard to accept. The Four Seas Hero Gathering was supposed to be an occasion for the outstanding talents to show up one after another. They would display their martial techniques and fight an exciting battle, showing off their glory and letting their names spread throughout the heavenly starry ocean. After that, the many holy signs would go up and display even more exciting and dazzling battles, showing off the glory of their holy lands. However, today, because of Xiao Qin's appearance, the Four Seas Hero Gathering, which had been passed down for tens of thousands of years, turned this banquet into a stage for him alone. What should have been a suspenseful and exciting battle turned into an instant defeat in one move, destroying the illustrious reputation of the many holy signs. Yi Chun, are you not going up? In the Jade Pavilion, where the Northern Sea Alliance was, Yi Chun had been watching the competition silently, not saying a word. At this moment, someone in the pavilion asked him. He smiled and shook his head. Never mind. Without Brother Xiao, I would not even be able to become the blue-robed emperor. Furthermore, with my martial techniques, I am definitely not a match for Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun has ruined this Four Seas Hero Gathering. The judges of the Lunar Palace will probably not be happy about it. Yi Chun sighed and said, who could have thought that he alone could suppress all the outstanding talents of the heavenly starry ocean? Furthermore, he suppressed them so miserably. Just as everyone discussed in low voices, a cold voice rang out in the palace where the Lunar Palace's judges were, sounding extremely dignified. Blue Dragon King Xiao Chun, the 10 of us judges have unanimously decided that no one in this Four Seas Hero Gathering can surpass you. Even if we go back another 10,000 years, only the Qing Emperor back then could compare to you. Hence, the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet belongs to no one else. A rectangular brocade box floated down from the sky. Xiao Chun stretched out his hand to catch it. After he opened it, he saw a palm-sized stone tablet in the exquisite brocade box. The words Dragon's Gate were written on it, giving off a vast aura. With just a few glances, Xiao Chun felt like he had fallen into a boundless abyss. The stone tablet contained a vast and boundless, overwhelming power. It made one feel incredibly insignificant. There was a huge pressure in the depths of Xiao Chen's heart. Endless dragon roars echoed in his ears, and a battlefield of blood and fire appeared before him. An imposing figure on a horse held his saber horizontally, leading many Dragon's Gate disciples and sweeping through the place. That imposing figure was accompanied by 13 azure-clad experts as they fought with many horrifying enemies. Among the enemies were the strong deity race martial emperors, the dragon kings of the four seas, and the 7 colored dragon marquises under Neptune, the many holy lands of the heavenly starry ocean, and the even more horrifying deep abyss demon monarchs. Kill! 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 Murderous cries resounded, and Xiao Chen's eyes turned scarlet. He thought to himself, oh no. He quickly retreated and closed the brocade box. Then, he performed a cupped fist salute and said, "Many thanks to the seniors of the Lunar Palace for helping me." Xiao Chen knew that the stone tablet before him could not be wrong. It was the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet that the Qing Emperor personally made. Although it was only palm-sized now, its true size would be revealed when it landed on the ground. You came for the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet. Now that you have obtained it, please leave. The Four Seas hero gathering still has to continue. The dignified and cold voice contained a trace of displeasure as it started to send the guest off. Xiao Chan placed the brocade box on his back and performed another cupped fist salute to express his thanks. Then, he glanced at the lunar palace in the sky. It seemed like someone was watching him there. Now, Xiao Chan somehow understood why that old woman had stayed in the Meditation Moon Palace for 10,000 years. The words on the Meditation Moon Palace's signboard were exactly the same as the words on the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet. Why was the Meditation Moon Palace's signboard written by the Qing Emperor? Perhaps only that old woman knew what happened to it. Xiao Chan shook his head and stopped thinking about it. Then, he drifted away before everyone's eyes. On the small arena, Long Fei and Qi Wuxue felt bored, so they followed Xiao Chun and left as well. As everyone watched Xiao Chun leave, most of them showed respect in their eyes. Defeating the outstanding talents of the Four Seas in one move, Xiao Chun truly lived up to the title of Blue Dragon King. This was a form of respect for the strong. However, there were also a few gazes that appeared extremely complicated, making it hard to guess what they were thinking. After Yu Bingyun spoke, she glanced to Xiao Chen's back before silently turning to leave. The young treasure master, Yi Ling, had a faint smile on his face. He said meaningfully, "History is always shockingly similar. Unfortunately, advancing to martial emperor in 5 years is still an insurmountable hurdle for you. You are destined not to be the next Qing emperor. The future of the heavenly starry ocean is still in my hands. I'll leave the heaven-subduing rock to you for now." The Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace's young palace master, Lung Xiaofan, showed a sullen expression and did not say anything. He only whispered a few words to the old man beside him, and the old man left to carry out his orders. If Xiao Chun were here, he would not be unfamiliar with this old man. This was the leader of the 4 old men who led the chase in Despair City. Back then, this old man had been severely injured by Xiao Chun. Now, he had already recovered from his injuries. His strength seemed to have improved slightly. Outside Bright Moon City, Xiao Chun landed on the surface of the sea and met up with Long Fei and Qi Wuxue. "Congratulations, Brother Xiao. You got what you wanted," the two said with cupped fist salutes. Chapter 1107. Since ancient times, this is probably the first time someone can do what Brother Xiao did, instantly defeating all the outstanding talents of the Four Seas in one move. Xiao Chan smiled bitterly and said, "This is probably the first time someone like me got chased out after receiving a gift." After saying that, the 3 started laughing. Long Fei glanced at Xiao Chun and said, "Your injuries are fine, right? I believe that once you are far away, someone will try to harm you." Xiao Chun nodded and said, "I plan to stay outside the city and recuperate before leaving." "Brother Qi Wuxue, are you coming with me to Heavenly Star Island?" Qi Wuxue smiled and said, "No, I can't play around anymore. This Four Seas hero gathering has allowed me to see what a true expert is. I plan to go and experience it myself. I cannot continue to be muddle-headed like this." Xiao Chun asked doubtfully, Where are you planning to go? Have you thought about it? I have not thought about it yet. However, the oceanic world is vast and boundless. It is not just the heavenly starry ocean. I just need to head to the place where the sun rises. Chi Wuxiue did not seem to be in a rush. Long Fei performed a cupped fist salute and said, "In that case, we will take our leave first. In the future, if Brother Xiao needs any help, I, Long Fei, will be there at your beck and call." Naturally, I, Chi Wuxiue, will not shirk from this as well. Xiao Chun wanted to stay here and recuperate. After that, he would rush to Heavenly Star Island in the Western Sea. Chi Wuxiue wanted to travel alone, and Long Fei wanted to rush back to the corpse race's continent. They could be considered to have gone their separate ways. Xiao Chun did not know when they would meet again. Outside Bright Moon City, Xiao Chun sat cross-legged on the surface of the sea, carrying a heavy red wooden box on his back. He closed his eyes and circulated his energy to treat his injuries. Aside from the necessary caution, he did not have many worries. This place was not far from Bright Moon City. Even if someone wanted to harm him, they would not dare to make a move so openly. Back in the arena, aside from the severe injuries from the clash with Di Xinhan, Xiao Chun had not suffered any injuries at all. The main reason was that he had exhausted too much of his law energy. As for the poison attack of the 5 poison sects Chenlin, it had already been broken down by his demonic seal. He would never have expected that Xiao Chen's Empyrean seal was already as vast as smoke, and the density of the power of the laws was more than 4 or 5 times stronger than his. As Xiao Chun treated his injuries, Yu Bingyun arrived not far away at some point in time, quietly waiting for Xiao Chun to treat his injuries. For hours later, Xiao Chun opened his eyes, and a brilliant light flashed in them. Then, he turned around and looked at Yu Bingyun. He smiled mockingly and said, "Miss Bingyun, why are you still looking for me? I am someone expelled from the Lunar Palace and no longer welcome here." When Yu Bingyun heard some resentment in Xiao Chen's words, she smiled faintly and said, "Because of the Qing Emperor, the Lunar Palace does not like you in the first place. Now, you nearly completely disrupted the Four Seas hero gathering, but the Lunar Palace still handed the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet to young Master Xiao and even politely asked young Master Xiao to leave. Young Master Xiao, please don't have any complaints." Xiao Chun smiled to himself. After putting on a show, according to Yu Bingyun's words, he had to thank the Lunar Palace. Xiao Chun had followed the rules. The Lunar Palace did not prohibit outsiders from participating in the Four Seas hero gathering. However, Xiao Chun did not have any complaints about this matter. He still felt grateful that they kept the Dragon's Gate's mountain tablet to him and did not have any resentment. "If you have something to say, just say it. Actually, I guess that you would come. The first time I saw you, I felt that you would have something to ask of me." Xiao Qin did not find Yu Bingyun's arrival strange. "Young Master Xiao is rather sharp. I would like to ask you to help me refine a medicinal pill. As for the specifics, you can take a look for yourself." Yu Bingyun waved her hand and tossed out an alchemic recipe to Xiao Chun. The medicinal pill was called the Heavenly Origin Pill. The alchemic recipe recorded the required ingredients in detail, as well as the various formulas. Based on the grades of the ingredients, this Heavenly Origin Pill was not a king-grade medicinal pill. At best, it was a sage-grade medicinal pill. However, even if it was a sage-grade medicinal pill, Xiao Chun could not refine it. There was no reason for that. He only knew the immortal epic's alchemy and not the martial epics. Wait a minute. Xiao Chun felt excited, but his expression did not change. He handed the alchemic recipe to Yu Bingyun and said, "I know a thing or two about alchemy. However, I am afraid that I cannot refine a sage-grade medicinal pill. The success rate is too low. You should look for someone else." Yu Bingyun smiled and said, "Young Master Xiao, why the need to act dumb? You know that if it were really a sage-grade medicinal pill, why would I bother you? This is a medicinal pill that can only be refined by the immortal epic. Aside from you, no one else in the world can refine it." Xiao Chen's face sank. "How did you know? From the moment you checked my pulse, I started to suspect it. After that, I asked around about you and found out that when you were only a martial monarch, You bought an alchemic recipe for the breaking sage pill in Hunluo City. Similarly, it is a medicinal pill that can only be refined by the immortal epic's alchemy. Clearly, Yu Bingyun was well prepared. She said, "Don't deny it. I found 3 factions that sold information in the heavenly starry ocean. They all mentioned that you bought the alchemic recipe for the breaking sage pill. Young Master Xiao, why the need to be so wary of me? Bingyun has never thought of becoming enemies with you." Xiao Chun had never been able to see through this girl before him. Be it her true cultivation or appearance, she gave him the feeling of trying to see flowers in the fog. Given Xiao Chen's cautious character, it would be impossible for him not to be wary of her. After thinking for a while, Xiao Chan felt that it was fine to help her refine it. He would just treat it as doing her a favor. He said, "I can help you refine it. However, you have to help me keep the matter of me knowing the immortal epic's alchemy a secret." Yu Bingyun smiled faintly and tossed out a ring. She said, "All the ingredients are in there. There is a total of 100 batches. No matter how low the success rate is, young Master Xiao can succeed once. There is no time limit. When you're done, just send someone to the Lunar Palace to deliver it to me." This was not bad. The conditions were very relaxed. There was no pressure on Xiao Chun. Without saying anything, Xiao Chun immediately agreed. "Young Master Xiao, you are really straightforward. Why don't you ask me why I want to refine this medicinal pill?" Before Xiao Chun could answer, Yu Bingyun continued, "This answer is rather interesting. There are 12 layers to the longevity art. In the tens of thousands of years of inheritance of the Lunar Palace, only my master has cultivated it to the final layer. Aside from talent, the most important reason is that the Qing Emperor refined this heavenly origin pill for her 10,000 years ago. This is a necessary, supplementary, medicinal pill for cultivating the 12 layers of the longevity art. Sometimes, I wonder if you obtained your immortal epic's alchemy from the Qing Emperor. However, with your strength, you would not be able to enter the Blue Dragon Palace. Where did the immortal epic's alchemy come from?" Haha, there is no need for young Master Xiao to answer this question. Thank you for your help this time. I will help you out a little as well. I will tell you a piece of news. After you left Bright Moon Plaza, the Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace had experts following you. Be careful. Xiao Chun was not interested in the news that Yu Bingyun revealed. Xiao Chun was more interested in Yu Bingyun herself. This woman was not simple. She was far more difficult to deal with than those holy signs. No matter how powerful the holy signs were, they would fight openly. However, this woman was unfathomable. Xiao Chun felt like she knew many of the Qing Emperor's secrets. What's wrong with this woman? You helped her refine such an important medicinal pill, but she did not show any gratitude. She even revealed bad news to disgust you. She did not do anything substantial to help. Ao Jiao spoke angrily from the immortal spirit ring, clearly upset with Yu Bingyun's attitude. Xiao Chun toyed with the alchemic recipe in his hand and entered deep thought. There is no need to take it to heart. I have a feeling that the story between us will not end so easily. She is a difficult woman to deal with. As for the Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace's people, if his life was in danger, Xiao Chun did not believe that Yu Bingyun would not interfere. Since she did not make a move, it meant that Xiao Chun could deal with them alone. Xiao Chun put away the alchemic recipe and verified his direction before heading for the Western Sea. In Bright Moon City, the Four Seas Hero Gathering was still ongoing. It was just that for some reason, the majority of the people felt that the originally rather exciting fights were dull and uninterested. Wen Yichun and Yin Shi-san, one a swordsman of massacre and the other a bladesman of massacre, started their battle. Everyone's eyes lit up, feeling pleasantly surprised. Unexpectedly, the massacre Dao alone had so many wondrous uses. This broadened the horizons of several people. Xiao Chun wanted to watch the Four Seas Hero Gathering to its end. However, the Lunar Palace was chasing him away, so he could not remain. Furthermore, he already obtained the Dragon's Gates Mountain tablet, so he did not have any regrets. After flying for a long time, Xiao Chun gradually felt the weight of the wooden box on his back. It felt like he was carrying a mountain on his back, extremely heavy. At first, Xiao Chun did not care much about it, only feeling that it was somewhat heavy. However, as time passed, it became unbearable. It was not that Shao Chun did not consider placing it in his universe ring. However, the moment he saw it, he knew that he could not place it in his universe ring. The wooden box did not look big, but the space it contained made Shao Chun feel as insignificant as a speck of dust. If he hastily stuffed it into his universe ring, it would definitely burst the space inside. Even Shao Chun would be injured from the explosion. The several Holy Spirit veins hidden in the universe ring would also be exposed. Hoochie! Shao Chen's ears twitched slightly when he heard an unusual sound of wind. He frowned slightly and calmly turned around on the water. Soon, the inaudible sound of wind intensified. 4 figures appeared in front of Shao Chun. When Shao Chun saw the leader, his pupils constricted and a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. This person was the black-clad old man who led the experts of the divine dragon palaces of the 4 seas to chase after Shao Chun in Despair City, reducing him to a sorry state. Blue Dragon King, we meet again, the black-clad old man said indifferently after concealing the murderous intent in his eyes. Shao Chun smiled coldly and said, "Unexpectedly, after being so severely injured, you were still saved. Blue Dragon King, we are not here to seek trouble with you. We just want to discuss a deal with you." When an old man beside the black-clad old man saw Shao Chun's murderous intent, he quickly stated his purpose. Shao Chun smiled and raised his head to look at that person. For some reason, that old man felt a chill run down his spine, and he could not help but take 2 steps back. There is no problem in discussing a deal. Wait, I will kill someone first. Kassier. A saber light flashed. Shao Chun had not drawn the lunar shadow saber during the 4 Seas hero gathering. At this moment, he drew it in the time it took for a spark to fly. His target was the black-clad old man leading the group. Chapter 1108. The black-robed man clearly had a horrifying great perfection saber soul and a great perfection will of thunder. However, the instant Shao Chun drew his saber, the sea remained calm. There were no strange movements at all. Shao Chun's control over all sorts of energy was the result of practicing saber techniques for half a year. There was no obvious increase in his cultivation. However, his control had already reached a level where it was smooth and smooth. In the time it took for a spark to fly, Shao Chun executed a simple Qing Emperor's drawing the saber, and 81 different saber trajectories appeared. A saber light flashed. By the time Shao Chun sheathed his saber, the black-robed old man's body suddenly burst forth with a resplendent saber light. The black-robed old man's body was chopped in half and sank into the sea, quickly dyeing the sea red. Shao Chun did not move back. He was now less than 10 meters away from the remaining 3. He raised his head and said calmly, "We can talk now." 1 second ago, the black-robed old man was still alive. 1 second later, he died without a complete corpse, leaving only the red seawater under his feet. When the 3 old men heard Shao Chun's words, they were all horrified. No one had expected that after Shao Chun drew his saber, his strength would be so horrifying. The rage in their hearts could not be any greater. They had not expected Shao Chun to kill just like that. Furthermore, after killing him, he still calmly said that they could talk about a deal. "Damn you, you're seeking death." One of the old men had a good relationship with the person who died. He could no longer endure the rage in his heart. He roared ferociously and stepped forward. Then he punched at Shao Chun. This old man drove the surging power of the world. The 5 kilometers of seawater under their feet soared into the air, kicking up huge waves. While Shao Chun was fast, Shao Chun was even faster. The instant Shao Chun's foot landed on the ground, Shao Chun's body trembled. The instant the old man's fist landed, Shao Chun held the sheathed lunar shadow saber. Then he stretched out his hand and pointed. For some reason, the scabbard happened to touch the old man's throat. Without a sound, his movements were as smooth as flowing water. Not a single trace of his strength leaked out. It was a far cry from the earth-shattering commotion that the old man had caused before he even threw out his fist. However, such a simple action had sealed the other party's Achilles heel in an instant. The other two elders did not even have the chance to help. Under Xiao Qin's calm gaze, the 5 kilometers of seawater that rose continuously slowly fell back down. The difference between movement and stillness was clear. The waves drifted down, and as they fell, they formed a continuous drizzle. When they landed on the surface of the water, there was a continuous crashing sound. Do you still think I'm a pushover from a year ago? Do you really think that you can just send a few adept blue-robed emperors to chase me to the ends of the earth? Don't be so naive. In Xiao Qin's calm tone, there was an invisible aura that suppressed the 3 of them, causing them to not dare to move. The 3 old men were shocked. This was not an aura, but a kind of air, a natural air that an expert had. It cannot be imitated or purposely revealed. Xiao Qin was young, no more than 29 years old. However, his air was even stronger than that of these old men, who had lived for hundreds of years. This was simply incredible. I said it very clearly. If you want to make a deal, that person earlier has to die. If you want to make a move, I do not mind killing a few more people. Let's see how many great perfection blue-robed emperors the Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace has to sacrifice. The old man that Xiao Qin pointed at with the scabbard said coldly, "If you have the guts, then make your move. The Divine Dragon Palace might be able to tolerate you if you kill a great perfection blue-robed emperor of my Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace. However, if you go overboard, don't blame our Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace for not showing mercy and directly sending out Emperor Wu to suppress you." Of Neptune's old subordinates, the Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace was the strongest. However, even the strongest Divine Dragon Palace was weaker than an immortal Holy Land. There were definitely not many great perfection blue-robed emperors. If Xiao Qin killed 4 of them, the Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace would not be able to accept it. The threat in the old man's words was very heavy. He wanted to turn the tables and intimidate Xiao Qin. Xiao Qin smiled coldly to himself. Right now, these holy lands did not dare to make a move on him for no other reason than the fact that the Thunder King was still alive. Even if Xiao Qin killed these 3 people, the Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace would not dare to do anything to him. Bang! Xiao Qin could not be bothered with this person. He pointed the scabbard at the old man's chest. A huge force spread out, causing the old man who spoke to him to vomit a mouthful of blood and fly back 1 kilometer. The other 2 old men quickly moved back and supported this old man. They no longer dared to be careless. Xiao Qin put down his saber and said indifferently, "If you have anything to say, say it quickly. My time is limited." At this moment, the 3 old men had no choice but to accept the fact that Xiao Qin killed one of them. The old man at the side said, "Our young palace master wants your Neptune headscarf. As long as you are willing to exchange it, you can make any requests." The Neptune headscarf? What does the other party want the Neptune headscarf for? Xiao Qin felt somewhat suspicious. However, he did not think too much about it. The Neptune headscarf was not for sale. No matter what, Xiao Qin would not exchange it. He directly rejected it without hesitation. Blue Dragon King, in a heavenly starry ocean, it is better to have 1 more friend than 1 more enemy. This is your only chance to reconcile with our Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace. As long as you agree, the young palace master will help you deal with the 7 heroes of the Dragon of the Western Sea, so that they will no longer make things difficult for Heavenly Star Island. The voice coming from behind stunned Xiao Qin, who was turning around. A heavy murderous intent flashed in his eyes as his murderous intent stirred again. Xiao Qin had not expected that after his own people left, the 7 heroes of the Dragon's group would still not let off Lan Xiaobai and the others. How is it? Have you thought it through? Seeing Xiao Qin stop, that person thought that Xiao Qin was tempted, so he quickly asked. Xiao Qin did not turn around. He said indifferently, "Am I not clear enough? All right, if you want to exchange, bring over a King Spirit Vein, and I will hand over the Neptune headscarf with both hands." You, the person who spoke, could not help feeling flustered. Only a fool would exchange a King Spirit Vein for the Neptune headscarf. Even if he wanted to take advantage of others, there was no need to do so. Furthermore, The entire Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace only had one King Spirit Vein. Aside from those immortal holy lands, no other faction would have an extra King Spirit Vein. Xiao Chun ignored these three. Right now, he felt very anxious, only wanting to rush back to Heavenly Star Island. Pusii. Just as Xiao Chun was about to walk forward, the seawater before him suddenly parted. 4 deep-sea flood dragons, radiating the might of the blue-robed Emperor level, surged towards him like a tsunami. Behind the flood dragons was an ancient war chariot. An old man held the reins of the war chariot, controlling the 4 blue-robed Emperor-level ferocious dragons, making them docile. Xiao Chun felt a chill in his heart. This old man was an expert. His cultivation had already reached consummation blue-robed Emperor level, firmly suppressing Xiao Chun. Vaguely, he gave off a powerful oppressive feeling without being angry, making people feel very uncomfortable. However, Xiao Chun did not feel any fear in his heart. He knew that the blue-robed emperor, who had cultivated a soul in his heavenly seal, was extremely horrifying, much stronger than Xiao Chun now. However, Xiao Chun had not used the Neptune headscarf yet. Together with the Neptune headscarf, he would be able to leave this old man unscathed. More importantly, Xiao Chun still had the holy golden feather that little yellow feather gave him. It was the life-saving trump card of the Golden Crow race, an ancient holy beast. It was more than enough to kill this old man. A handsome youth sat on the war chariot with a cold and arrogant air. A deep light flickered in his eyes. With one look, it was clear that he was someone very good at scheming. Xiao Chun had met this person once in Despair City and knew that he was the young palace master of the Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace. However, at that time, Xiao Chun only caught a quick glance and did not pay much attention to Lung Xiaofan. At that time, there were too many people more powerful than him. Xiao Chun could not possibly focus all his attention on Lung Xiaofan. Now that Xiao Chun looked carefully, the more he looked, the more familiar this person seemed. A person appeared in Xiao Chun's mind, and he suddenly realized that this person was Lung Ao, who had gone to the Neptune Palace with him back then. "It's you," Xiao Chun could not help saying softly. Lung Xiaofan smiled and said, "It's rare for the Blue Dragon King to finally remember me. Young Palace Master, he killed Elder Foam." 3 old men flew over from behind Xiao Chun and quickly reported the matter of Elder Feng's death to Lung Xiaofan. Lung Xiaofan's expression did not change. He nodded and said, "It looks like giving up on the 4 Seas hero gathering and rushing over here was the right decision. The Blue Dragon King's current strength is indeed incredible. Can you tell me how you have been cultivating for the past year?" I have no comment. When Lung Xiaofan heard that, he did not get angry. His expression did not change much as he said indifferently, "That's true. Everyone has their own secrets. However, this is not strange. As a descendant of the Qing Emperor, you swept through all the outstanding talents at the King Conferral Ceremony. Your luck is overwhelming. You will definitely have your own fortuitous encounters. However, what do you think your chances of victory are against the 5 of us now?" Xiao Chun pointed at the old man driving the carriage and answered honestly, "As long as this senior is alone, this Xiao will not be a match for him." The corners of Lung Xiaofan's lips curled up slightly. "I'm a little surprised. The Blue Dragon King, who defeated the outstanding talents everywhere in one move, can still remain so calm. I think you're a smart person. Hand over the Neptune headscarf to me and name a reasonable price. Even an enemy can become a friend immediately." Xiao Chun said indifferently, "I have many friends. However, you, Lung Xiaofan, will definitely not be on this list." Attack. Since they could not get along, Lung Xiaofan's face sank. He said directly, "Just restrain him. Don't kill him. It is not worth offending the Thunder King for this short-lived fool." The old man driving the chariot put down the reins and slowly stood up. Instantly, an overwhelming aura pressed over with the force of mountains and seas. The seawater behind Xiao Chun suddenly surged up and formed a 3,000-meter-tall wall of seawater. Without any restraints, the 4 deep-sea flood dragons revealed their ferocious appearances. They bared their fangs and claws at Xiao Chun, roaring ferociously. This made the other party's aura even stronger. Before the other party's strong aura, Xiao Chun felt like he was carrying 2 mountains on his shoulders. He took a step back and held his saber in front of him. Then, he looked calmly at Lung Xiaofan and said, "I advise you to think carefully before you make a move. Don't regret it." Lung Xiaofan smiled and said, "The Blue Dragon King could be afraid? Unfortunately, this is not the time for you to give me a chance to regret. It is me who will not give you a chance to regret. Attack." Right after Lung Xiaofan spoke, the hemp-robed old man driving the carriage snorted coldly. The 4 ferocious deep-sea flood dragons charged at Xiao Chun. Chapter 1109. Ao Jiao urged from the immortal spirit ring. Little Yellow Feather, which had been cultivating bitterly in the immortal spirit ring for the past year or so, cried out happily and flew out. Little Yellow Feather gave off a dazzling golden light as it spread its wings and glared at the 4 deep-sea flood dragons majestically, scaring the 4 deep-sea flood dragons into trembling. In terms of bloodline, the deep-sea flood dragons were not of a pure, true dragon bloodline. Only when they cultivated to the limit and succeeded in their tribulations could they turn from flood dragons to dragons. However, Little Yellow Feather was a bona fide blood divine beast, an existence on the same level as a true dragon. When the 4 deep-sea flood dragons saw it, they instinctively felt some fear. Lung Xiaofan's eyes lit up. He smiled and said, "It is actually a young golden crow. Elder Chung, quickly go and restrain Xiao Chun. After that, subdue this golden crow and make it the guardian divine beast of my Eastern Sea divine dragon palace." The hemp-robed old man left to carry out the order. He leaped up and threw a palm strike at Xiao Chun. This palm strike looked ordinary. However, it carried a vast amount of the power of the world, using force to suppress others. He was using his cultivation to defeat Xiao Chun. Under the pressure of this palm strike, Xiao Chun sank 1 kilometer, together with the seawater under him. Xiao Chun felt shocked in his heart. He had expected the strength of the consummation blue-robed emperor to be extremely horrifying. However, when he faced it for real, he discovered that it far surpassed his expectations. With Xiao Chen's current strength, he was 2 cultivation realms away from the other party. He was not a match for him at all. He could only use Neptune's crown. With a thought, Neptune's crown flew out of the universe ring and landed firmly on Xiao Chen's head. In that instant, thousands of thoughts surged in Xiao Chen's mind. They were all the various emotions of Neptune. However, Xiao Chun did not find this strange. He calmed his mind, and the various negative emotions vanished. Above the sea, the hemp-robed old man, who suppressed Xiao Chun with 1 palm strike, laughed maniacally. Then, he prepared to land a solid strike and severely injure Xiao Chun. He was surprised to find that Xiao Chun, who had been forced back by his aura, suddenly flew up. Even the seawater under his feet rose up, suppressing him in terms of momentum. When the old man saw the crown on Xiao Chen's head, a greedy look flashed in his eyes. "Do you think you can fight me with the crown? Blue Dragon King, you are too naive. In the face of absolute power, everything is just an illusion." Xiao Chun said calmly, "You are right. However, you're not qualified to say that. I will let you experience the mysteries of Neptune's crown, the domain of water." A huge shadow appeared behind Xiao Chun. It was the supreme being Neptune, who ruled the entire ocean world 10,000 years ago and was able to compete with the Qing Emperor. A blue halo was emitted from Neptune's body. The sky-blue water domain covered a radius of 100 miles. A screen of blue light filled the air. It looked like solid water, covering every corner of the space. The hemp-robed old man immediately felt that something was wrong. Be it his speed or the power of the world that he could use, he felt a significant decrease in this all-pervasive, solid light screen. After experimenting with it for a while, the hemp-robed old man relaxed slightly. His strength had decreased by only 20%. If he used it to deal with Xiao Chun, he would still be able to suppress him. The hemp-robed old man smiled coldly and said, "In the end, you are only a small perfection blue-robed emperor. Even if my strength is reduced by 20% in this water domain, it is still impossible for you to injure me. Idiot! Since when did I set you as my target? Xiao Chun could not be bothered with this old man. Wearing Neptune's crown, Xiao Chun was like a fish in water in this water domain. His speed was much faster than usual. His figure flashed, and he vanished from the old man's sight. The hemp-robed old man was startled, but he quickly understood. He looked in the direction of Lung Xiaofan's group. He saw Lung Xiaofan and 3 other old men walking on the surface of the sea with much difficulty, trying to escape the water domain. Compared to the hemp-robed old man, these people's strength had decreased even more horrifying, by 40%. Lung Xiaofan, who had the lowest cultivation, was in an even more miserable state. His strength was suppressed by 60%, and he could bring out only the strength of a superior grade martial sage. With such strength, Lung Xiaofan was like a child before Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun took a step forward and flew over to pick up Lung Xiaofan. Young master, the other 3 old men quickly launched themselves at Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun did not even look at them. He carried Lung Xiaofan with one hand and sent the 3 old men flying with a palm strike each. In his fluster, Lung Xiaofan tried to activate a pendant on his chest. This pendant contained a life-saving measure that his father had given him. As long as he activated it, even Emperor Wu would not be able to do anything to him. However, how could Xiao Chun give Lung Xiaofan such a chance? He clenched his right fist and punched Lung Xiaofan's head, interrupting Lung Xiaofan's actions. This punch was extremely satisfying. After Xiao Chun returned to the Haoyan sect after his king conferral ceremony, Lung Xiaofan had started plotting against him. Now that Lung Xiaofan had found an opportunity, how could he let Lung Xiaofan have an easy time? With a few punches, Lung Xiaofan's head swelled up like a pig's head. Lung Xiaofan's face was swollen beyond recognition. Now, do you know who did not give the other a chance to regret? Xiao Chun asked indifferently as he carried Lung Xiaofan. Lung Xiaofan felt intense pain on his face. He felt even more sullen in his heart. He had not expected that after he wore Neptune's crown, even the hemp-robed old man, who was 2 cultivation realms higher than Xiao Chun, could not do anything to him. Lung Xiaofan gritted his teeth and said, "You are ruthless. However, after today's matter, you and my Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace no longer have any chance of reconciliation. I, Lung Xiaofan, will not live under the same sky as you." Bang. Xiao Chun hated people who were stubborn. This punch knocked out several of Lung Xiaofan's teeth. Then, Lung Xiaofan vomited a mouthful of blood, forcing him to swallow the rest of his words. A strong wind blew. It was the hemp-robed old man charging over, burning with rage. Xiao Chun smiled faintly and dodged far away, not clashing head-on with this old man. Even with the water domain, Xiao Chun was not a match for this old man. However, with the difference in speed, Xiao Chun could easily deal with this old man. The old man's eyes spewed fire as he chased after Xiao Chun. Every time Xiao Chun dodged, he would punch Lung Xiaofan's face right in front of this old man. This angered the hemp-robed old man into gritting his teeth. However, no matter how hard he tried, he could not catch up to Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun had a good grasp of propriety. He knew that he could not kill this Lung Xiaofan. Otherwise, even if the Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace's palace master endured the pressure from the Thunder King, he would still die together with Xiao Chun. However, Xiao Chun could not just swallow this frustration. He only used ordinary force to punch Lung Xiaofan's face. Lung Xiaofan cursed endlessly, but Xiao Chun did not get angry. With every curse, he punched. When a magic energy in Xiao Chen's Sea of Consciousness was about to run out, he punched, sending Lung Xiaofan flying towards the hemp-robed old man. Xiao Chun somersaulted in the air and landed on the dragon chariot that Lung Xiaofan abandoned. Within the water domain, Little Yellow Feather had already subdued the 4 deep-sea flood dragons. Xiao Chun sat on the dragon chariot, feeling very comfortable. He waved his hand, and Little Yellow Feather immediately chased the 4 deep-sea flood dragons over. Little Yellow Feather swung the reins and coiled the 4 deep-sea flood dragons. Then it spread its wings, and 4 beams of flame shot at the flood dragons. In pain, the deep-sea flood dragons pulled the war chariot and flew away quickly. Brother Xiaofan, this Xiao has a long way to go to Heavenly Star Island. I'll borrow your dragon chariot. Xiao Qian's carefree laughter came from the distance. The hemp-robed old man was currently checking on Lung Xiaofan's injuries and could not be bothered with Xiao Chun. So, he could only let Xiao Chun drive Lung Xiaofan's beloved flood dragon war chariot. Young master, are you all right? The hemp-robed old man asked cautiously as he looked at Lung Xiaofan, who was beaten into a pig's head and nearly unrecognizable. Lung Xiaofan's injuries were not severe. However, he had been hit too many times in the head, so he felt somewhat dizzy and could not tell which way was north. After a while, Lung Xiaofan recovered. He looked around and mumbled, "Where's my flood dragon war chariot?" The hemp-robed old man thought for a while before answering honestly. Xiao Chun snatched it away. He said he was borrowing it. When Lung Xiaofan heard that, he could not help but tremble in anger. He had suffered a huge setback on this trip. A great perfection blue-robed emperor had died, and he had lost his flood dragon war chariot. What was even more unacceptable was that Xiao Chun had beaten him in the face for half an incense stick. However, there was no chance for regret in this world. No matter how much he regretted it, it was too late. Xiao Chun had already driven the dragon war chariot far away. It had to be said that the Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace's flood dragon war chariot was indeed very comfortable to drive. Xiao Chun thought about the 4 flood dragons that were as strong as the blue-robed emperors, pulling the war chariot obediently on the sea like horses. Just the might of the war chariot was enough to shock people. In terms of speed, Xiao Chun found that this flood dragon war chariot was even faster than his Dragon's Gates warship. The reason was not hard to explain. Before the Dragon's Gates warship was destroyed, it was a standard mass-produced warship. Although the Dragon's Gates warship was more powerful than most King-grade warships, it was mass-produced in the end. It could not compare to this war chariot, which a large sect forged with all its might. The most important thing was that this flood dragon war chariot did not require astral cores to run. For the Dragon's Gates warship to fly at a similar speed, one would need to have medial-grade astral cores embedded in it. That would cost a lot of money. As Xiao Chun sped through the Western Sea, he did not fear attracting attention. This war chariot was the symbol of the Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace. No faction dared to touch it rashly. It was sufficient to deter thieves and robbers, allowing him to travel unimpeded. A dragon carriage, if one counted it carefully, was really a lot of benefits. Without even needing to think, Xiao Chun could guess Lung Xiaofan's current expression. He could guess the depressed expression on his face. Xiao Chun had already told Lung Xiaofan not to regret it. However, Lung Xiaofan did not believe him and insisted on using brute force. He deserved to end up like this. As Xiao Chun sat in the war chariot, he carefully sized it up. The war chariot was simple and unadorned in black. The Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace's insignia was carved on the left and right railings. Xiao Chun had already erased Lung Xiaofan's spiritual mark in the war chariot, leaving behind his own spiritual mark. Xiao Chun already had a good understanding of this war chariot. He snapped his fingers, and creaking sounds came from the back of the originally open war chariot. The roof of the war chariot suddenly formed and rose up. Then it firmly closed. The war chariot, which was originally open, was now sealed. The people outside could no longer see who was sitting inside. As for Xiao Chun, all he needed to do was to gently open the curtains, and he would be able to see the situation outside clearly. After the entire war chariot was sealed, the space at the back folded up, creating a large, empty space. The originally long, soft chair became a large, spacious bed. Chapter 11:10. Xiao Chun gently patted the center of the bed, and a protrusion appeared. Then, he removed the soft and valuable spirit beast pelts, revealing an exquisite table. Xiao Chun removed his shoes and socks, and sat down cross-legged. There was a ring under the table. When he gently pulled it, cold qi came out from the ring. Several fine wines were hidden in the frozen drawer. It was unknown how long they had been frozen. The drawer looked small, but in reality, it was very spacious. Lung Xiaofan had extravagantly invited a martial emperor expert to carve a small spatial formation inside. There was also an ice formation. The drawer was the frozen wine storehouse. Xiao Chun gently tapped the drawer. There were all sorts of rare wines inside, too many to count. Xiao Chun could not name them. However, just by looking at the packaging, he knew that they were extraordinary. Lung Xiaofan was a fellow who knew how to enjoy life. However, they all belonged to Xiao Chen now. Hey, this fellow actually collected a lot of thousand-year flame. Xiao Chen's eyes lit up. Unexpectedly, he found 10 bottles of thousand-year flame in the small wine storehouse. He could not help feeling overjoyed. Xiao Chun had already finished drinking the thousand-year flame that he obtained from Imo Chen long ago. Now that he suddenly saw something he loved, he could not help revealing a smile. Xiao Chen gently knocked on the back a few times, and a small folding cabinet appeared. There were exquisite wine cups and several tea sets made of thousand-year-old precious jade. After taking out the thousand-year flame, Xiao Chun looked around and found that the wine cups in the cabinet were not suitable for drinking the thousand-year flame. So, he took out the purple crystal cup he collected from the universe ring. Splash! Xiao Chun slowly poured himself a cup. The thousand-year flame in the purple crystal cup looked beautiful and flawless. It was gorgeous and very pleasing to the eye. Ao Jiao flew out of the immortal spirit ring and curiously sized up the interior of the carriage. She smiled and said, "This carriage is pretty good. Its speed and defense are excellent. Most importantly, the details are very exquisite. One can stay in it comfortably." Xiao Chun was obviously quite satisfied with his spoils of war. He swirled the amethyst glass with a faint smile on his face. Ao Jiao's interest was piqued. Under Xiao Chen's astonished gaze, she poured a cup for herself and slowly swirled it like Xiao Chun. Faint sparks flowed out from their wine cups. Not long after, flames rose up and formed 2 golden crows that chased each other in the spacious carriage. When the golden crow vanished, Xiao Chun picked up his wine cup and drained the thousand-year flame in one go. He felt incredibly delighted, the aftertaste lingering for a long time. So this is the taste of wine. Across from him, Ao Jiao gently took a sip, and her cheeks immediately revealed an intoxicating blush. Her expression was very charming, and her somewhat tender face looked very flirtatious. Xiao Chen put down his wine cup and entered deep thought. There were many Holy Spirit veins in the immortal spirit ring, and Ao Jiao's strength was increasing by the day. Her changes were even greater. Possessing a body temperature, being able to taste fine wine, and all of these qualities were unheard of in the history of an artifact spirit. However, looking at Ao Jiao, it seemed like she liked these changes. Naturally, Xiao Chun felt happy for her. However, Xiao Chun would have to ask that old item spirit in the Blue Dragon Palace if there was any other price to pay. Pooh, 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 pooh. Little Yellow Feather, who had had its fill of playing outside, flew in excitedly. When it saw that the wine cup in front of Ao Jiao still had a lot of unfinished wine, it immediately landed in front of her and started drinking. This startled Xiao Chun, and he quickly tried to stop it. Ao Jiao smiled and stopped Xiao Chun. "Let be. This wine is pretty good. This wine has a strong after effect. Most people would not be able to drink even 1 cup. Beginners cannot drink this wine." The blushing Ao Jiao swayed her body. She said somewhat drunkenly, "Is that so? Hee hee. I was wondering why my head felt so dizzy. Before Ao Jiao finished speaking, she fell back onto the bed and fell into a deep sleep. After Little Yellow Feather finished drinking the thousand-year flame in a few mouthfuls, it became completely excited, chirping nonstop. As it flew in the air, it spread its wings to their limits. All its golden feathers turned bright red. Then, it opened its tiny mouth, and a flame quickly gathered in it. This startled Xiao Chun. If Little Yellow Feather went crazy, it would burn down the entire war chariot. Plop! The excited Little Yellow Feather suddenly quieted down and landed on the bed. It was like a dead fish, its belly flipped over, not reacting at all. Xiao Chen smiled helplessly. Then, he went over to check on Ao Jiao. The sleeping Ao Jiao looked exceptionally beautiful. In his previous life, this was the kind of girl with a youthful complexion and huge breasts. If Xiao Chen continued looking, he might have some evil thoughts. After verifying that she was really just asleep and was fine, Xiao Chen poured himself another cup of thousand-year flame. Then, he opened the curtains and walked out. Whoosh! Whoosh! The inside of the war chariot was as calm as on land. After Xiao Chen left, he immediately felt the wind howling. 4 deep-sea flood dragons pulled the war chariot, parting the wind and breaking the waves on the surface of the sea. Under the might and pressure of the blue-robed emperor, no ferocious beasts of the sea dared to appear. When the loose cultivators passing by saw the symbol of the Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace, they would stay far away, not daring to block this flood dragon worship. The war chariot moved quickly without any obstruction. We have already traveled for half a month. We should be able to reach Heavenly Star Island in another 3 days. At this moment, Xiao Chen was very eager to return. He wished that he could immediately appear on Heavenly Star Island. Calculating the time, Xiao Chen had already been separated from Lan Xiao by Kim Taeho and the others for 1.5 years. Back then, when Xiao Chen parted, he had not thought that it would take so long. He had even optimistically estimated that he would be back in half a year. Who could have imagined that after he left for so long, he would run into so many things? The affairs of the world were like a game of chess, unfathomable. The matters of life were truly unpredictable. No one knew what the future would be like. It was hard to determine whether it was good or bad. Xiao Chen wondered how Lan Xiaobai and the others were doing on Heavenly Star Island. Originally, Xiao Chen thought that after he left, there should not be anyone making things difficult for him. However, the news that the old man from the Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace told him made Xiao Chen frown heavily. He simply could not be optimistic. The 7 heroes of the dragon, you had best not go overboard. Otherwise, I, Xiao Chen, will definitely return the favor 100-fold, risking my life to accompany you. He swirled the wine in his cup. When the flames rose into the air, the flames rose into the air. The instant the flame soared into the air, a murderous intent appeared on Xiao Chen's face. He ferociously clenched his right hand, and the purple crystal cup shattered. The wine turned into sparks flying everywhere. Western Sea, Blue Dragon Kings conferred land, Heavenly Star Island. In a vast open space, workers were building a winery. After it was completed, the winery was built. With the recipe in Mo Chen's hands, she could smoothly produce all sorts of fine wines. Then, Jean de Bao's merchant group would sell them to the Black Sea. Not far from a construction site, Mo Chun supervised the workers. Although she looked fatigued, she was still very excited. Haha, the progress is pretty good. You are rather fast. Lan Xiaobai walked over with a smile. Mo Chun smiled faintly and handed the task at hand to an older old man. After giving some instructions, she walked over and asked, "Do you have good news for me?" Lan Xiaobai nodded and said, "Yes, I just received news. Half a month ago, Xiao Chun defeated the various outstanding talents in one move at the Four Seas Hero Gathering, forcefully obtaining the Dragon's Gates Mountain Tablet. He should be back soon." The news came somewhat late. However, this could not be helped. The various factions of the 7 heroes of the dragon had sent people to block the way. As a result, only Kim Taeho could bring news of them from the Black Sea. The news came a little late. However, there was nothing that could be done about it. The 7 distinguished dragon marquises had sent people to block the way. As a result, Jean de Bao could only bring their news from the Black Sea. "What's wrong? You don't seem surprised at all." "You don't look surprised at all," Lan Xiaobai said, finding it strange. Mo Chun smiled gently and said, "It is within expectations. What's there to be surprised about? I just did not expect that he would be defeated in one move." Mo Chun had always been very confident in Xiao Chun. She had never doubted that Xiao Chun could obtain the Dragon's Gates Mountain Tablet. Mo Chun smiled gently and said, "It is within expectations. What is there to be surprised about?" I just did not expect that he would be defeated in one move. Lan Xiaobai thought about it carefully. That was true. The first time he met Mo Chun, she firmly believed that Xiao Chun would obtain the Dragon's Gates mountain tablet. No wonder she was so calm now. One had to know that when he heard this news, he was excited for a long time. He was so excited that he solemnly recorded this matter in his Azure Dragon Scroll. I thought that you found a suitable place to build a refining pavilion. It looks like I rejoice for nothing. However, this news is pretty good. At the very least, I know when Xiao Chun will rush back, Mo Chun said with a smile. At the mention of this, Lan Xiaobai immediately showed a sorrowful expression. Mo Chun was more capable than Xiao Chun had imagined. She was 10 times more familiar with managing the various affairs of the island than he was. Furthermore, Mo Chun was proficient in everything. Just thinking about it made one feel defeated. There was no need to mention refining. That was Mo Chun's specialty. With the Book of Heavenly Works, she was like a tiger that had grown wings. However, Mo Chun's other miscellaneous skills were equally amazing. Alchemy, brewing wine, formations, astrology, medical skills, and management were all there. She was proficient in all of them and knew them all. Mo Chun was even familiar with the history of the martial Tao, which Lan Xiaobai was most proficient in. She could answer his questions fluently. She had a good understanding of the various matters of the martial Tao from the distant ancient era. After coming to Heavenly Star Island, Mo Chun did all the things that Xiao Chun originally wanted to do. Furthermore, she did all of them better than he did, making things much easier for him. Lan Xiaobai had never managed such a large conferred land before. He had been bitterly holding on. Only after Mo Chun did everything return to the right track. However, there were also times when he had a headache. For example, Mo Chun wanted to build a refining pavilion. Naturally, Lan Xiaobai was overjoyed. However, he had already chosen several places and was rejected. Now that he heard about this matter, he felt a headache. Lan Xiaobai smiled embarrassedly and said, "The refining pavilion needs to be built in a place with earth flame. There are many such places on Heavenly Star Island, but none of them caught your fancy. I really can't do anything about it." Mo Chun said seriously, "If it were an ordinary faction, I could just casually choose a place. However, I now practice the Book of Heavenly Works and have a way to mass-produce king-grade secret treasures. However, if the quality of the earth flame is not up to par, it will be useless." Chapter 11:11. Either you don't build it, or once you build it, you have to get it done in one go, lest you have to rebuild it again later. Lan Xiaobai nodded. Naturally, he understood this principle. He said with some pity, "If the few islands around Heavenly Star Island are not occupied by other factions, I know of a place that definitely has a peak earth flame." The land that Bushin Palace gave to the Blue Dragon King was not just Heavenly Star Island. The islands within 500 kilometers should all be subsidiary islands of Heavenly Star Island. However, the reality was rather awkward. Before the 3 holy masters left, they secretly said that they would give up on those subsidiary islands. Whoever had the strength could occupy them. The Bushin Palace would not make a move to deal with this problem. This was to create trouble for Xiao Chun, making him uncomfortable on Heavenly Star Island. Now, the surrounding islands were occupied by other factions. This was especially so for the 7 heroes of the dragon. They even occupied the outpost islands at the very front, blocking off Heavenly Star Island's group. When Mo Chun heard this, she felt interested. She said, "Take out the sea chart. Let me take a look." Lan Xiaobai took out the sea chart and pointed to an island in the periphery of the Heavenly Starry Ocean. He said, "This is the place. This island is called Black Flame Island. It has long been famous for producing black flame stones. It covers a large area and contains black flame stones. After the lava that it spews out cools, it will turn into black flame stones." Mo Chun nodded thoughtfully. "I know about black flame stones. They are a type of supplementary material for refining secret treasures. High-quality black flame stones are comparable to divine materials. Black flame stones are very famous among earth flames, ranking within the top 10. Lan Xiaobai put away the sea chart and sighed. "However, don't think about it now. Not to mention the fact that the 7 heroes of the dragon are blocking us from leaving. Even if we manage to leave, we might not be able to do anything to the faction on that island. This island was one of the most valuable subsidiary islands in the periphery of Heavenly Star Island. Without a certain level of strength, one would not be able to firmly occupy this island among the many factions. This was what Lan Xiaobai meant. And Mo-chan also shook her head and said, if we do not chase away the 7 heroes of the dragon, Heavenly Star Island, we will never be able to truly develop. Difficult. Lan Xiaobai said helplessly, the 7 colored marquises are old subordinates of the Sea Monarch. Every one of them possesses the strength of a martial emperor. These 7 factions are considered major factions in the entire Western Sea and cannot be underestimated. Furthermore, they have a peak faction like the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace behind them. The Western Sea was a rather chaotic sea region. There were many large factions there, but not a single immortal holy land or an organization like the Northern Sea Alliance. This resulted in all sorts of disputes and battles. The Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace was one of the overlords. Chen wanted but he, and said, and he, and unfortunately, I do not have a single sage great spirit tree or spear herb. Lan Xiaobai smiled and said, take your time. Everything will be fine. Come, bring me over to take a look. I already feel somewhat impatient. Boom. Just at this moment, a loud sound rang out, rumbling deafeningly. The two's expressions changed at the same time. Lan Xiaobai shifted his gaze and looked in the direction of Heavenly Star City. He frowned and said, I wonder who among the 7 heroes of the dragon is here again. It looks like I can't go to the herb field. I have to rush over and take a look. Occasionally, the 7 heroes of the dragon would send people to cause trouble. Sometimes it was 1 or 2 people. Every time, they would cause a mess in the city before stopping. Emo-chun said, I'll go with you. Lan Xiaobai did not reject. Emo-chun had the strength of the blue-robed emperor, so she could protect herself. However, this time, the situation did not seem quite right. The two flew quickly in the air. Soon, they ran into the people on the mountain who had heard the commotion. Lan Xiaobai gave instructions for Jin Lin, Lu Ku, and Xiao Xian to lead some disciples to disperse the crowd and lead them to the tunnel that Lord Jiu had dug, lest they get caught up in the battle. The tunnel that Lord Jiu dug was very safe. This was not the first time the 3 had done this. There was no need for them to say anything more, so they obeyed the orders and left. Yu Chenxi frowned and said, it seems different this time. The aura of the area outside the city gates gives off an especially strong pressure. Outside the city gates, clouds churned for 5 kilometers. The sky was dark, looking like it would fall at any moment. The sounds of intense fighting rang out continuously. And Mo-chan said, we will know when we go over and take a look. The 3 moved as fast as lightning. Soon, they crossed most of Heavenly Star City and landed outside the city. When the 3 saw the situation clearly, they frowned heavily. Unexpectedly, the 7 heroes of the dragon were all here. Each of them had a blue-robed emperor by their side. There was also a long line of martial sage experts behind them. Unexpectedly, the one fighting Elder Qin in the air was a great perfection blue-robed emperor. The 3's hearts sank. For a long time, the 7 heroes of the dragon had always had small perfection blue-robed emperors by their side. Even when they came, they would come in 2s or 3s. Even with Elder Qin's strength, he could still block them. However, today, something unexpected happened. The 7 heroes of the dragon were all here. Furthermore, they had found a great perfection blue-robed emperor from somewhere. To the 7 colored dragon marquises, their factions did not have many great perfection blue-robed emperors. They would not send one over to surround Heavenly Star Island. There were more important things to do. Sending a small perfection blue-robed emperor to surround Heavenly Star Island was already the most they could give the 7 heroes of the dragon. Elder Brother Xiaobai, you are finally here. After they landed, Yu quickly ran over. Her anxious face revealed a trace of joy. Lan Xiaobai asked sullenly, what's going on? Yu pointed to Huan Qiuyu, who was the leader of the 7 heroes of the dragon. She scolded. It's still the same as before, looking for an excuse to get us to hand over Neptune's crown. Lan Xiaobai clenched his right fist tightly, his expression turning extremely sullen. For the past year, the other party had been using this excuse to harass Heavenly Star Island. Every time they came, many people died. This was especially so for the innocent, ordinary people in Heavenly Star City. When the shock waves from the battle swept through them, many people died. If not for Lord Jiu digging the tunnel, who knew how many more people would have died? Today, the other party came again. They were too arrogant and despotic, completely ignoring their explanations. Lan Xiaobai, we do not have time to waste with you. If you do not hand over Neptune's crown today, none of you can leave. Come back with us and explain yourselves. A youth in purple dragon robes among the 7 heroes of the dragon shouted arrogantly from across the empty space. This was the purple-clad Marquis's descendant. Of the 7 heroes of the dragon, he was the one who liked to harass Heavenly Star Island the most. Mo Chen's expression changed. She said this time they're probably going all out. They want to capture all of us before Xiao Chen returns and get Xiao Chun to exchange for Neptune's crown. Lan Xiaobai said in a cold voice. They really grasped the timing well. Given Xiao Chen's character, he will definitely hand over Neptune's crown. Who knows? He might even extort other things. You said anxiously, what should we do? There are so many of them now, and they're holding back Elder Qin. Mo Chen said calmly, don't panic. I can block them first. If we really cannot block them, we will return to the sect. The 9th Heaven's Thunder formation that Xiao Chan left there will be sufficient to delay them for a while. We will wait for Xiao Chan to return first. We gave you a chance, but you didn't. Don't blame us for bullying you with numbers. Huan Qiyu said calmly and waved his hand. The blue-robed emperors beside each of the 7 heroes of the dragon understood. They smiled coldly, and 7 figures charged at Lan Xiaobai, Yu Chenxi, and the others at the same time. Clearly, this Huan Qiyu was very careful despite having a huge advantage. He did not get careless, hoping to succeed in one strike and get the 7 small perfection blue-robed emperors to attack at the same time. With Elder Qin being held back, Lan Xiaobai and the others could not resist at all. You guys leave first. I'll cover you. Mo Chen did not say anything more. She quickly formed hand seals, and a fiery light appeared on her body. When she finished forming the hand seals, a screen of fire soared up in front of her, blocking everyone behind her. Bang! The attacks of the 7 small perfection blue-robed emperors struck the screen of fire at the same time. Unexpectedly, it did not shatter immediately. It lasted for a while before it turned into flames and vanished. Huan Qiuyu's expression froze. Feeling it was strange, he asked, since when did a blue-robed emperor appear on Heavenly Star Island? Huh, what can one blue-robed emperor change? As long as that old fellow is held back, we can deal with this motley crew in minutes. However, Huan Qiyu did not dare to be careless. He said sullenly, we still have to end this quickly. This time, we have completely shed all pretense of cordiality with Xiao Chun. Given Xiao Chen's character, he will definitely not let this go. If we still fail and do not obtain the Neptune crown and Neptune headscarf, we will have suffered a great loss. Why are we afraid of him? Would he dare to come to our headquarters and cause trouble? My father can smack him to death with one palm strike, the purple-clad youth said unyieldingly. Huan Qiyu remained silent. Indeed, Xiao Chun did not dare to come to their headquarters. However, there would always be a chance to find them alone. If not for Lung Xiaofan sending a message and helping him invite a great perfection blue-robed emperor of the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace, Huan Qiyu would not have done this no matter what. Don't let them retreat. 2 of you hold back this girl. The rest, go and capture Lan Xiaobai's group. The cautious Lung Xiaofan did not choose to waste time with Mo Chun. The 7 small perfection blue-robed emperors immediately split into 2 teams. Only 2 of them held back Mo Chun, while the other 5 went to deal with Lan Xiaobai's group. Mo Chun did not seem to be at a disadvantage when she faced the 2 small perfection blue-robed emperors. Her entire body blazed like flames, even suppressing the two small perfection blue-robed emperors. However, when Emo-chan saw the 5 small perfection blue-robed emperors split off, she felt somewhat helpless. She was completely held back and could not go over to help. Damn it! A murderous intent flashed in Emo-chan's eyes. She stretched out her hand, and the Book of Heavenly Works flew out from her spatial ring. Mo-chan smashed her palm on the Book of Heavenly Works. Instantly, a divine might came from the Book of Heavenly Works. Caught off guard, the 2 small perfection blue-robed emperors were knocked back. However, even if Emo-chan wanted to save them, it was still too late. Yu and Yuchinsi's cultivations were too weak. They were instantly caught and had their cultivation suppressed. Then, the 2 small perfection blue-robed emperors tossed them to where the 7 heroes of the dragon were. Someone immediately took out chains and bound the 2 of them, making it impossible for them to move. Chapter 11-12. Lan Xiaobai, who was only a hair's breadth below the blue-robed emperors, weaved in and out of the group. However, there were simply too many of them. The 5 blue-robed emperors surrounded Lan Xiaobai. The moment he appeared in the air, he suffered a heavy blow and vomited a large mouthful of blood. After a few strikes, Lan Xiaobai could no longer move. The 5 blue-robed emperors tossed him to the back. Bang! The purple-clad youth immediately rushed over and kicked ruthlessly, forcing Lan Xiaobai to his knees. Aren't you very incredible? In the past, that old fellow did not give me any face. Let's see if you still dare to be stubborn this time. The purple-clad youth kicked ruthlessly again. You started crying anxiously. She said, "Stop fighting. Stop fighting." The purple-clad youth turned around and looked at Xiaoyu. He laughed loudly and said, "This is the result of working for Xiao-chun. You do not know what is good for you. I told you several times to leave, but you did not. Now, even if you wanted to, you would not get the chance." Lan Xiaobai's face was swollen, and blood flowed from a corner of his lips. Earlier, when the 5 blue-robed emperors surrounded him, he was severely injured. Now, he was humiliated by this person, adding injury to injury. However, Lan Xiaobai did not show any pleading on his face. When he saw that this person wanted to attack you, he shouted coldly, "Try attacking her if you dare. If anything happens to her, I guarantee that even the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace will not be able to protect you." You scared me, so I attacked her. What about you? Huan Chuyu showed an uncertain expression. He did not know the origins of these 2 people, and their martial techniques were very strange. He said coldly, "Enough. Stop messing around." The purple-clad youth seemed to fear Huan Chuyu. He did not dare to retort or attack you. Instead, he turned around and kicked Lan Xiaobai away. "You're the most proactive in helping Xiao-chun do things. Every time I come to Heavenly Star Island, you are the one who stops me. Today, I will return the favor to you." Huan Chuyu glanced at the purple-clad youth and knew that Lan Xiaobai and Elder Qin had taught him a lesson when he brought people to Heavenly Star Island to cause trouble. If he didn't vent his anger, he probably wouldn't feel at ease. So, he just let him be. Now that the situation was under control, 2 of the 7 blue-robed emperor went to help deal with Elder Qin, while the remaining 5 dealt with Emo-chun. Emo-chun and Elder Qin were in grave danger. They could be captured at any moment. Even if they wanted to leave, it would be difficult. As long as they captured these 2, their plan would succeed. Then, they could retreat calmly and wait for Xiao-chun to return to Heavenly Star Island and come and beg them. At this critical moment, a long wooden box suddenly flew over from the sky. It flew over at lightning speed from afar. The first to bear the brunt was the blue-robed emperor fighting with Elder Qin. The wooden box crashed into him, and the protective laws on his body shattered. Bang! This unremarkable wooden box smashed into this great perfection quasi-emperor, shattering his bones and body into powder. Then, the wooden box fell straight down from the sky. The clouds churned continuously as if it dragged the sky down with it. The momentum of the wooden box's descent was unblockable. The 5 blue-robed emperors fighting with Emo-chan realized that the situation was not good. They all retreated, resolving Emo-chan's situation of being surrounded. Bang! The wooden box landed firmly on the ground, and a voice filled with boundless rage spread in all directions. None of you can leave today. The cold voice spread in all directions, confusing the 7 heroes of the dragon's group. They did not know who this person was, what his identity was, or what he wanted. Huan Qiyu showed a sullen expression, maintaining his calm. He waved his hand and got the 7 blue-robed emperors to retreat, forming a simple protective circle around everyone. The purple-clad youth, who had been teaching Lan Xiaobai a lesson, was startled. He quickly stopped and pulled Lan Xiaobai into the circle. Qiyu, what should we do? Who exactly is this person? What should we do? The Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace's great perfection blue-robed emperor actually died. The other members of the 7 heroes of the dragon were all stupefied. They asked Huan Qiyu in a fluster. Huan Qiyu felt a headache coming on. He only hoped that that person had not returned early. Otherwise, there would be no more chances. He shouted, "Friend, where are you from? To think that you even dare to kill an elder of the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace. I no longer wish to remain in the Western Sea." Huan Qiyu, where do you think I am from? A white figure descended at lightning speed and stood on the wooden box, looking coldly at Huan Qiyu's group. Big brother Xiao Chun. It really is Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun is back. Yu and Yu Chenxi, who were captured by the 7 heroes of the dragon, revealed expressions of joy as they spoke excitedly. You even shed tears. She said, Big brother Xiao Chun quickly chased this group of people away. They bullied elder brother Xiaobai in such a sorry state. Xiao Chun glanced at Lan Xiaobai, who was riddled with wounds, footprints all over his body, and palm prints all over his face. A murderous intent blazed in Xiao Chen's heart like a scarlet flame. He was also very kind. Even now, she only said to chase them away. How could it be so simple? The person who attacked had to die. There was no other choice. Huan Qiu's expression immediately turned extremely unsightly. He could not understand how Xiao Chan had returned so quickly. What he feared had really happened. Suddenly, for dragon roars resounded behind the group. Huan Qiu turned his head to look, and joy appeared on his face. It was the Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace's Flood Dragon War Chariot. Lung Xiaofan had come personally. They were saved. However, before the smile on Huan Qiu's face could freeze, he saw the 4 flood dragons charging over ferociously and biting several people to death, forcing the group forward. Huan Qiu's face turned ashen. He finally understood why Xiao Chun could return early. This fellow snatched away Lung Xiaofan's Flood Dragon War Chariot. Even Lung Xiaofan fell at Xiao Chen's hands. At this thought, Huan Qiu could not help breaking out in a cold sweat. Back then, when Lung Xiaofan sent Xiao Chen a message, he said several times that he had to move quickly without any delays. In the end, Xiao Chen still wasted an entire day to entertain the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace's great perfection blue-robed emperor. It was this one day that brought about a calamity to him. The group had long heard of Xiao Chen's fame. During the 4 Seas Hero Gathering, he defeated all the outstanding talents with one move. Without the peak consummation blue-robed emperor here, even if the group worked together, they would not be a match for Xiao Chun. Now, the evil dragons blocked their retreat, and Xiao Chun blocked their way. The previously arrogant and magnificent 7 heroes of the dragon found themselves in a dilemma, their faces turning ashen. Xiao Chun, be sensible and hand over Neptune's crown. Then let us go. Otherwise, your 3 friends will die. In a fluster, the purple-clad youth grabbed Lan Xiaobai and threatened him loudly. Whoosh! Xiao Chen did not bother speaking nonsense. He pushed off with his feet and shot forward like an arrow at lightning speed. Before the purple-clad youth could see Xiao Chun clearly, he saw Xiao Chun land in front of him and place a finger on the purple-clad youth's forehead. To the purple-clad youth, Xiao Chen's speed was no different from teleportation. Clang! The purple-clad youth's hand weakened, and the weapon in his hand fell to the ground. He fell backward, and a finger-sized bloody hole appeared on his forehead. Blood flowed endlessly, but he was already dead. After killing this trash with one finger, Xiao Chun continued to make lightning-fast moves. It was like no one could stop him. He quickly rescued Yu and Yu Qinzi from the crowd. After gathering the three together, Xiao Chun unleashed his aura. The group of people who reacted and prepared to make a move immediately got knocked back by this strong aura. A small number of people with weaker strength were even sent flying by the aura, vomiting blood from their mouths. Get on! With one palm strike each, Xiao Chun gently sent the three onto the Flood Dragon war chariot that happened to be flying over. Now that the purple-clad youth was rescued, Xiao Chun no longer had any worries. He quickly made his move. As he said, the person who made a move had to die. The purple-clad youth had already died with one finger strike. The Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace's Great Perfection Blue-Robed Emperor was already dead. The 7 small Perfection Blue-Robed Emperors had to die as well. Xiao Chun moved as fast as lightning, not holding back at all. The 7 small Perfection Blue-Robed Emperors with ferocious auras could not last one round against him. They did not even have a chance to run before they died at Xiao Chun's hands. The city walls were already filled with people who had heard the commotion. These were the people of Heavenly Star Island. When these people saw the 7 blue-robed emperors, who had been harassing Heavenly Star Island and mocking them, die at Xiao Chun's hands, they were all extremely shocked. When these people heard that the person who made a move was the Blue Dragon King, Xiao Chun, the true master of this conferred land, they all became excited. Soon, only Huan Xiuyu and the other 6 of the 7 heroes of the dragon remained after Xiao Chun's attacks. Aside from Huan Xiuyu, who remained relatively calm, the others were so frightened that they trembled. They nearly knelt and begged for mercy. These people had long been frightened out of their wits. After Xiao Chun landed, he did not say a word. He only killed and did not do anything else. Not only did Xiao Chun kill the 7 blue-robed emperors, but he also mercilessly killed the purple-clad Marquis's descendants. Originally, these people thought that Xiao Chun would have some misgivings about their father being Emperor Wu and not dare to kill them. However, this thought was very wrong. Not only did Xiao Chun kill them, but he did so without saying anything at all, without any misgivings at all. Sweat poured down Huan Qiuyu's forehead. Under Xiao Chun's gaze, he simply could not endure the immense psychological pressure. He begged for mercy. Xiao Chun, let us off. I guarantee that we will never come to Heavenly Star Island to cause trouble again. Right. I also guarantee that my blue-clad Marquis's bloodline will never appear again. My red-clad Marquis's bloodline will also guarantee that it will never appear again. Xiao Chun did not look at the others. He only looked at Huan Qiuyu and said indifferently, Huan Qiuyu, remember what you said today. I will only say one thing. If you have any grudges, just come at me. Don't make a move on my friends. Otherwise, no matter who it is, I, Xiao Chun, will risk my life to accompany them. When the others heard these words, they could not help but tremble. Then, they looked at the purple-clad youth's corpse on the ground. No one dared to doubt Xiao Chun's words. He said that he would risk his life to accompany them. Many thanks for sparing our lives. We will take our leave now. After obtaining Xiao Chun's forgiveness, the few of them felt like they were relieved of a heavy burden. They quickly got up and prepared to leave as far as they could. They no longer dared to remain near Heavenly Star Island. If they did not flee home, they would not feel safe at all. Chapter 11:13. Wait! Xiao Chun stopped the group of people and said coldly, for the past year or so, you have been harassing Heavenly Star Island repeatedly. Are you going to leave just like that? Huan Qiuyu was the first to react. Without saying anything, he tossed out 2 million black astral coins from his spatial ring before turning to leave. The others understood. Enduring the heartache, they left behind all the black astral coins they had on them before leaving dejectedly. The dragon chariot landed, and Lan Xiaobai's group of 3 came out. After glancing at the purple-clad youth's corpse, Lan Xiaobai said to Xiao Chun, after killing this person, there will be trouble. Xiao Chun patted Lan Xiaobai's shoulder and said calmly, you know that I'm not afraid of this little bit of trouble. Xiao Chun looked around and saw many familiar faces. He walked over and greeted them, feeling guilty and apologizing profusely. When Xiao Chun saw Mo Chun, he did not know what to say. Unexpectedly, the other party did as she said. The moment she arrived at the blue-robed emperor, she immediately rushed to Heavenly Star Island to help him guard it. "You are here," Xiaoqin said after a while. Imochen smiled and said, "I came as arranged. If you did not chase me away, I would stay here." Lan Xiaobai immediately said anxiously, "Xiaochun, if you chase Imochen away, I will be the first to object." Right. You will not agree, either." The atmosphere immediately warmed up. Xiaochun smiled and was about to answer when he suddenly frowned and sent out his spiritual sense. Imochen quickly asked, "What's wrong?" Xiaochun withdrew his spiritual sense and smiled. "It's fine. You guys clean up the mess. I'll be back soon. A small fly has been watching me for a long time, and I actually only discovered it now." Before Xiaochun could explain too much, that small fly had already sensed something and was retreating. If he delayed any longer, the other party would really escape. Xiaochun pushed off with his feet and rushed out of Heavenly Star Island. His figure moved as fast as lightning, and the 6 indistinct electro dragons around him vanished from everyone's sight in the blink of an eye. You ran over and asked curiously, "Brother Xiaobai, what is Brother Xiaochun doing?" The others also looked at Lan Xiaobai curiously. Lan Xiaobai pondered for a moment before he analyzed. "Someone has probably been watching us from the side, waiting for us to be taken care of by the 7 heroes of the dragon before they can take advantage of us." The situation around Heavenly Star Island was incredibly complicated. The various large factions occupied the original subsidiary islands. They had been eyeing Heavenly Star Island covetously for a long time. When you saw Lan Xiaobai's injuries, her eyes turned red, and she started crying again. Lan Xiaobai quickly consoled her with a smile. "My little princess, don't cry. Elder brother Xiaobai is fine now." You sniffled and said, "But that person is very ruthless. Elder brother Xiaobai must be in a lot of pain. If only elder brother Tianqi were back." When Lan Xiaobai heard this, he just smiled and did not say anything. Aside from you, there was also a good friend of the Azura race, Lan Tianji, who had come to Heavenly Star Island with Xiaochun. 1 year ago, Lan Tianji had sent Lan Tianji to the Kunlun continent to invite a martial emperor expert of the race to hold down the fort, dealing with the problem of Heavenly Star Island in one fell swoop. However, there had been no news for more than a year. Something must have happened, and the expert of the race could not come. Let's tidy up first. Later, we still have to send people to take over the satellite islets occupied by the 7 heroes of the dragon. Lan Xiaobai reacted and nodded. He revealed a rare look of joy on his face. As long as he subdued the 7 satellite islets, Heavenly Star Island would be much safer. It would also be more convenient to come and go. If he could repair the defensive formations on the satellite islets and the main island, then even if Emperor Wu came, he would not have to fear Heavenly Star Island defenses. However, when Xiaochun thought about that defensive formation, the 3 holy masters had damaged it beyond recognition before they left. Repairing it would probably be very difficult. However, being able to subdue the 7 satellite islets was a good thing. Lan Xiaobai sorted out his emotions and immediately got into the swing of things. After sending people to tidy up the place, he led Imochen and Elder Qin to take over the 7 satellite islets. Outside Heavenly Star Island, Xiaochun moved like a flash of light. After 10 breaths of time, he saw the little fly hiding in the clouds, watching the battle situation on Heavenly Star Island. This person's getup somewhat surpassed Xiaoqin's expectations. The most eye-catching thing about him was his round bald head and the monk robes he wore. His getup was exactly the same as the Buddhist sect disciples of the ancient era. There was no difference at all. This person looked very similar to the blood monk Zhuangzhenghe that Xiaochun had seen in the heavenly ruin wasteland. Xiaochun was tempted. Originally, he thought that this person was just a fly that he could casually squish to death. Now, he changed his mind and prepared to go over to see who sent this person. The Minor Lane Temple, a Buddhist sect holy land in the heavenly starry ocean, had been destroyed by the Qing Emperor 10,000 years ago and ceased to exist. Buddhist sect disciples were very rare. This little monk before Xiao Chun was not weak, a grandmaster-level martial sage. His concealment skills were also very good. If not for Xiao Chen's sharp spiritual sense, he would not have discovered this fellow's existence. The little monk moved very quickly on the surface of the water. It seemed like he discovered something wrong. Occasionally, he turned his head back to look. However, with Xiao Chen's current cultivation, if he wanted to hide, how could the little monk discover him? Xiao Chun carefully followed the little monk for more than 500 kilometers. It looked like they were about to leave Heavenly Star Island's area of influence. Doubt arose in Xiao Chen's heart. Could it be that he was overthinking and that this was just a passing loose cultivator? As Xiao Chen pondered, the little monk suddenly turned left and sped away. Then, he landed before an island. Immediately, several experts dressed in the same attire flew up from the island and received the little monk. Xiao Chan took out the sea chart and glanced at it. Then he entered deep thought. This was Black Flame Island. Before the three Holy Masters' lands were withdrawn, it was the largest subsidiary island of Heavenly Star Island. After the three Holy Masters' lands left, all the subsidiary islands, as long as they had resources, were occupied by the major factions. This island before Xiao Chun was no exception. Based on the current situation, the factions occupying Black Flame Island all seemed to be dressed like Buddhist disciples. This seems somewhat strange. Could someone have obtained the inheritance of the Minor Lane Temple and is preparing to rebuild it? Xiao Chen muttered in a soft voice. He had not expected to discover such a secret while he was following a small fly. The little monk had already been lured away by someone and could no longer follow. However, this island piqued Xiao Chen's interest. Black Flame Island was not a sealed island. It had its own harbor and merchant associations that came to purchase black flame stones. There were also fishermen and ordinary people out to sea. It would not be difficult to sneak in. Avoiding detection, Xiao Chun landed on the island without causing any commotion. The instant he landed, he felt that the atmosphere on the island was somewhat strange. This island was rather large. Aside from the largest city, Black Hot City, there were several small towns and villages. Xiao Chun estimated that there were at least 1 million people on the island, including ordinary people. Casually looking around, Xiao Chun found that there were temples in all the villages. In particular, there were magnificent temples on several high mountains and rivers. They were full of incense and endless worshippers. All of them were ordinary people who came to pray for blessings and peace. Vaguely, Xiao Chun felt that there was an invisible net covering the entire Black Flame Island. That feeling could not be described in words. Furthermore, it was very subtle and hard to detect. If not for his spiritual energy turning into pure magical energy, he would not have felt it at all. Scanning the surroundings with his spiritual energy, Xiao Chun muttered, "The problem should be with these ubiquitous temples." Squinting his eyes, Xiao Chun fixed his gaze on a temple on the peak of a high mountain. On the rugged mountain road, people were like ants walking towards the temple. Activating the energy-returning skill, Xiao Chun lowered his cultivation level infinitely. Now, he looked no different from an ordinary person. Even if Emperor Wu came, he would not be able to see through Xiao Chen's disguise. Xiao Chun drifted down and landed at the foot of the mountain. Then, he casually joined the group of people praying for blessings. The mountain road was steep, and the people praying for blessings were all ordinary people. As they walked, they panted. Beside Xiao Chun was an old man dressed as a woodcutter. He was very old and found it very difficult to walk. Seeing that the old man would fall if he got careless, Xiao Chun quickly stretched out his hand to support him. The woodcutter caught his breath before saying to Xiao Chun, "Thank you, young man. Are you praying to Buddha as well?" "No, I'm an outsider. I heard that the temples of Black Flame Island are rather efficacious, so I came to take a look." Xiao Chun remained calm as he supported the old man to the side. Then, he took out a water bag and let the old man rest for a while. The woodcutter drank some water and smiled. "You don't look like a Buddhist. You are indeed an outsider." Xiao Chun looked at the people praying to Buddha on the mountain and asked casually, "What temple is this in front? I wonder which Buddha they are praying to." The woodcutter answered honestly, "Naturally, It is the Amateus Buddha and his bodhisattvas, wisdom kings, and arhats. On the mountain in front is the heavenly Yuan temple. There is a statue of the Manjushri Bodhisattva there. He is a great bodhisattva with boundless magic energy. Most of the people on Black Flame Island worship this bodhisattva. The Amateus Buddha was also known as the Amitabha Buddha. When the Minor Lane Temple was still around, it also preached the teachings of this Buddha. In the heavenly starry ocean, this Buddha had an extremely extensive foundation. Before the Minor Lane Temple was destroyed by the Qing Emperor, it had many believers. Xiao Chun thought to himself, "It looks like I am right. Someone did indeed obtain the inheritance of the Minor Lane Temple. They are planning to rebuild the Buddhist sect's holy land. However, they just changed the name and did not want to cause too much of commotion. Young man, if your heart is not sincere enough, you had better not come to worship the Bodhisattva. The Bodhisattva will not be able to hear your prayers." The old man returned the water bag to Xiao Chun and continued on his way. Xiao Chun received the water bag, feeling curious. What exactly is going on? How did the citizens of Black Flame Island accept the existence of the Buddhist sect in such a short time and even become such devout believers? Xiao Chun quickly headed for the heavenly Yuan temple at the top of the mountain. There were monks standing guard in front of the temple, all of them skilled in martial arts. However, they could not stop Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun gently leaped up and flew past the long line of people. Silently, he arrived at the great hall of the inner courtyard. When he saw the statue of the Bodhisattva in the hall, he was startled, greatly stimulated. How is this the Manjushri Bodhisattva? Nonsense. Incense burned in the great hall. The devout believers knelt on prayer mats and kowtowed in worship. However, Xiao Chun, who was hidden in a corner, showed an uncertain expression. He stared at the golden statue of the Manjushri Bodhisattva in front. Chapter 11:14. The person on the statue had a dignified expression and a smile on his face. His left and right hands each formed a seal. They were the Dharma seal and the flower-grasping seal. They were famous hand seals of the Buddhist sect. With one seal, the tongue bloomed like a golden lotus. His mouth flowed like a river, and flowers bloomed everywhere. The first seal was pinching a flower, smiling while pinching a flower, laughing at the world of mortals, looking at the prosperity of the world. There is nothing wrong with everything except the face of this bodhisattva statue. After Xiao Chun saw it clearly, he only sneered. This face was not the face of Manjushri Bodhisattva at all. Instead, it was the face of the bloody monk, Zhuang Zhenghe. Xiao Chun had a very good memory. He had a deep impression of this loose cultivator who had chased him around in the heavenly ruin wasteland. What a good strategy, using the extensive foundation laid by the Little Thunder Temple to directly absorb the power of faith for his own use. Xiao Chun gently pushed off the ground and flew to the beam. Then he looked down. Xiao Chun slowly opened his heavenly eye and saw that every time the worshippers kowtowed, a formless green energy would come out of their bodies. Like moths to a flame, they flew toward the golden statue. In Xiao Chun's eyes, the smile on the statue's face became more and more sinister, like a monster that ate human brains. Xiao Chun entered deep thought. Then, he stretched out his hand and made a suction. Strands of green energy flew into his hand. They were all the power of faith. Taking a deep breath, Zhang Xian immediately felt refreshed. His entire body felt so comfortable that his bones were about to soften. At the same time, many voices appeared in his mind. Some were praying for children, some were praying for safety, and some were praying for health. They were all prayers from believers. Xiao Chun thought to himself as he closed his eyes and digested the faith energy. This faith energy could not be directly converted into cultivation. It required a secret technique. Just as Xiao Chun was about to close his heavenly eye, he suddenly noticed something strange. There was a black sea of bitterness behind the golden statue. Every time it absorbed a bit of faith power, a drop of black bitter water would fall into it. Xiao Chun stood there blankly for a moment before realization dawned on him. A trace of anger appeared on his face. They had removed all the information from the prayers and the power of faith, leaving only the purest power of faith. Faith is mutual. I believe in you, worship you, burn incense, pray to Buddha, and pray to Bodhisattva. You have to listen to my prayers. Even if you don't satisfy everyone's prayers, you have to choose the more urgent ones and satisfy them. But now, this group of people had completely treated the prayers of mortals as garbage and impurities, only leaving behind the power of faith that was useful to them. He acted like a bandit, plundering and brainwashing people, but he was a dignified and righteous existence. Xiao Chen looked at those devout believers pouring in. Just thinking about it made him feel sorrowful and ironic. Xiao Chen closed his heavenly eye, and all the mysterious phenomena vanished. The scene before him changed back to that of a great hall filled with people and incense. It was solemn and dignified. Xiao Chen was certain that Zhuang Zhenghe was the mastermind behind Black Flame Island. Otherwise, all the temples on the mountain would not have statues of him. Now, Xiao Chen had to figure out another problem. Why did the Shuem monks send people to keep an eye on Heavenly Star Island? After sorting out his emotions, Xiao Chen silently flew out, heading in the direction of Black Flame City. The largest temple in the entire Black Flame Island, Enlightened Sense Temple, was there. The incense there was flourishing, and there were more than 100 times more worshippers than here. The majestic city walls entered Xiao Chen's eyes. The city gates were heavily guarded, all of them bald cultivators in monk robes. Xiao Chen could sense at least 2 Grandmaster-level martial sages on the city walls. Using the foundation returning art to hide his cultivation, Xiao Chen successfully entered the city. After asking around, he found out where Enlightened Sense Temple was. The magnificence of the temple was somewhat flabbergasting. After climbing more than 1,000 steps and following the crowd, Xiao Chen entered Enlightened Sense Temple. This time, the center of the temple was not the Manjushri Bodhisattva, but the golden statue of the Amitabha Buddha. There were 8 bodhisattvas on the left and right, 32 wisdom kings on 2 sides, and 108 arhats with exaggerated ferocious expressions. They were erected everywhere in the temple for people to worship. Of course, these were not real Buddha statues. They were just fake Buddhas with different appearances. Without needing to open his heavenly eye, Xiao Chen could imagine how dense the power of faith was in this place. The Amitabha Buddha statue in the center already gave off an indistinct Buddhist light with the naked eye. It looked even more dignified, inspiring reverence and worship. When Xiao Chen saw this scene, his heart sank. The bloody monk, Zhuang Zhenghe, was not the leader of this mysterious Buddhist faction. The true leader should be the true Amitabha Buddha statue in the center. Zhuang Zhenghe was just one of the 8 bodhisattvas under him. Benefactor, since you have entered Enlightened Sense Temple, why are you standing outside the hall? An old monk with a dignified appearance walked out of the hall, walking over to Xiao Chen with a benevolent expression. When Xiao Chen sized up the old monk, he felt startled. This old monk's strength was not simple. This old monk already possessed the strength of a small perfection, blue-robed emperor. There were more than 1,000 Buddhist lights on his body, and there was even a golden sea of bitterness behind him. As the old monk stood in the hall, he gave Xiao Chen an unfathomable feeling. After arriving here, Xiao Chen already sensed that this faction was not simple. He did not want to alert the old monk, so he said calmly, "It's nothing. I just heard from a friend that the Buddhist sects on Black Flame Island are rising, so I came to join in the fun. I was shocked by the Buddha statue in the hall and have yet to recover my wits." The old monk smiled and said, "That is not the case. This old monk feels that benefactor's killing chi is too strong and your sins are too heavy. Hence, you do not dare to face the Western Buddhists. Actually, as long as you take one step forward, you can repent and be saved, cleansing yourself of all your sins." Xiao Chen raised his eyebrows and said meaningfully, "If I take this step, I probably won't be able to turn back." There were other mysteries in this hall. Xiao Chen was not so careless that he would not enter rashly. The old monk pointed to the many ordinary people kneeling in worship of the Buddha statue in the hall. He asked, "Benefactor, why do you say that? Don't you see that these believers all have peaceful expressions?" Xiao Chan retorted indifferently, "What does it have to do with me? I have never thought of cleansing myself of all my sins of killing." The old monk's smile did not diminish. He said, "It looks like Benefactor has many worries in your heart. How about entering the hall and discussing it with this old monk? Perhaps I can give you some pointers." Xiao Chen's expression did not change as he replied calmly, "Another day, then. I am somewhat tired today." After saying that, the old monk took his leave. He did not try to keep Xiao Chen. He said, "Merciful Buddha," and sent him off with his eyes. When Xiao Chen was far away, the old monk's smile immediately vanished. He called over a young novice monk and said, "Send someone to keep an eye on him. Inform the Manjushri Bodhisattva that the Blue Dragon King, Xiao Chen, is here." After leaving the hall, Xiao Chen's footsteps became increasingly hurried. He knew that he had exposed himself to the old monk. The waters of this Black Flame Island were much deeper than he had imagined. Xiao Chen had been somewhat rash in entering this island. After leaving the city gates, Xiao Chen soared into the air and quickly flew out of the island. He felt somewhat strange on this Black Flame Island. He did not feel very safe. Just as Xiao Chen was about to leave the island, a large Buddhist light suddenly appeared in front of him, spreading throughout the sky. Boundless Buddhist chanting resounded in all directions, filled with chanting. The clouds churned, and a huge Buddha statue blocked Xiao Chen's path. It was the Manjushri Bodhisattva's golden dermic body. The golden dermic body blocking Xiao Chen's path was like a tall mountain. Xiao Chen looked as insignificant as an ant. "Benefactor Xiao, we meet again." When the huge dermic body spoke, its voice was loud and rumbling. Every syllable could shake one's heart, reaching deep into one's heart. Xiao Chen smiled and said, "Zhuang Zhenghe, it has been 2 or 3 years since we last met. Instead of being some bloody monk, you came to be a bodhisattva. You truly rose to the heavens in one step. This is truly a great shock." Zhuang Zhenghe smiled and said, "No matter what, I cannot compare to Benefactor Xiao Chen. At such a young age, your name already filled the entire Kunlun realm. The title of Blue Dragon King has even spread throughout the entire oceanic world." Xiao Chen did not wish to speak nonsense. He said directly, "The grudges between us are just a small matter. Tell me the truth. Why did you send people to my heavenly star island?" The dermic body replied solemnly, "Naturally, it is to open a forum and give lectures to spread the teachings of my Buddhist sect, to save everyone from the purgatory of food and lust, to convert to my Buddha." Xiao Chen said coldly, "It looks like there is no way to resolve this grudge." The dermic body smiled and said, "That is not so. My Buddha is benevolent. As long as you have a heart for Buddha, this bodhisattva can personally purify you, turning you into my Buddha's protector." Xiao Chen did not want to fight with this person on Black Flame Island. Without saying anything more, his figure flashed, preparing to charge over. Zhuang Zhenghe smiled coldly. The dermic body revealed a sinister smile on its solemn face. "I did not go looking for you, but you delivered yourself to me. It is too late to leave now." The mountain-like dermic body smashed down with a palm strike. Strands of pure power of faith flowed out of the Manjushri Bodhisattva statues covering the entire Black Flame Island, heading for the dermic body in the air. This caused rings of Buddhist light to flicker behind this dermic body. These lights shone with many colors. Its might instantly reached the level of a consummation blue-robed emperor. As the huge palm descended, Xiao Chen had nowhere to dodge or hide. When the palm strike arrived, it knocked Xiao Chen back and smashed into a mountain peak. Bang! Amid the shattered mountain peak, Xiao Chen materialized the blue dragon battle armor and shot it out. As he looked at the dermic body in the sky, he entered deep thought. The heavenly laws in this palm strike were incredibly dense. In his heart, Xiao Chen compared this to a consummation blue-robed emperor that he had met in the past. However, in terms of the density of heavenly laws, they were already equal. However, in terms of purity, This dermic body was far from the Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace expert by Lung Xiaofan's side. If that Eastern Sea Divine Dragon Palace expert landed a palm strike on Xiao Chun, he would lose 5% of his strength. If he received another palm strike, Xiao Chun would not even be able to flee. The dermic body before Xiao Chun was just an empty shell. It was sufficient, but it was far from precise. This should be the drawback of using the power of faith to cultivate. Otherwise, such a speed would be too heaven-defying. Right now, Zhuang Jinghe's cultivation was ridiculously higher than Xiao Chen's. However, in terms of true combat prowess, Zhuang Jinghe might not be able to defeat Xiao Chen by much. Xiao Chen stretched his legs, and popping sounds came from his body. The patterns on the blue dragon battle armor gave off a dazzling light. Then he said indifferently, "Zhuang Jinghe, you are too naive to think that you can stop me like this.